Booyah! What's up?
What up, Primals?
The man formerly known as Brian Johnson was eaten, and all that is remaining of him is the Liver King.
You know the story, man.
How did he taste? How did he taste? Was he yummy?
He tasted better than yummy. Have you ever had a king?
I have not. I have not. I'm just sampling queens in this lifetime, but I'll come back in another lifetime and sample a king.
Yes, well, everybody has that barbarian inside of them, and you got to fucking eat. That barbarian has to eat that old person, so that you can become that evolutionary hunter, so that you can, go on that trajectory that everybody's, has to go on that path. You have to go on that path before you become a king. So if you haven't, and I think maybe you have, Sevan, maybe you just got to think about it.
When I know it was just a play on sexual talk. I just love the sexual talk. Just excites me. I'm like a sixth grader at heart.
I know.
When I look at you, what I see a world full of mirrors. I think Sevan's just a signifier for this body that my ego tries to hold down as a real person, and it's a whole fucking lifetime of that ad nauseum. And so I think we're just mirrors here, and that's why I think we're all important role models. And when I see you, you set me free. You tell me, your being tells me that it's okay to grow my beard long. It's okay to walk around with my shirt off. It's okay to let my DNA express itself. I learned the fitness philosophy methodology from CrossFit, and from you, I'm learning the actual personification of it. This is like, once you do get like that, it's okay. You can be humble and still walk upright. You can be humble and be a king. It's crazy what you're doing. You're setting people free. And when I see people attack you and anyone in your space who's like setting their spirit free through their body, I get it. They're scared. But you'll get there. You will get there. I think attacking is like the natural thing to do, because it is scary what Brian's doing. Is it scary? Tell me, Mr. Liver King, is it scary taking whatever step you took? You couldn't have been born like this. There must have been like some crazy shit you went through to get here.
Oh, there's a lot of crazy shit, and that crazy shit continues. And what I would say really is there's all these social norms, right? There's all these things that you sort of grow up being taught or fed. And like, why are we supposed to wear a shirt? Why are we supposed to trim our beard? I got asked that question the other day, like, what's the deal with your beard? And I'm like, what's the deal with my beard? What's the deal with you? Another man paying another man to buy his disposable razor blades, to buy his aftershave. I'm like, oh, this guy got you. And what is this for? So you can look less like a man? So like when people
attract women who are less into men.
I don't get this thing, right? I don't get this thing. Or people are like, hey, why do you refer to yourself in the third person? Well, why the fuck do you refer to yourself in the first person? Right? It's wild to me how people have just like sedated themselves enough to accept whatever it is that the social norms is the way that they should be. And the other day I was talking to Paul about this, like the whole
Dr. Paul Saladino.
That's
awesome,
right.
Dude. Yep. Okay.
Carnivore MD. And in the whole, hey, we should work smarter, not harder. Like, dude, whoever the fuck said that, they got you real good. Because now you're not doing shit, right? You're the guy who thinks that they can buy their status at the mall. And that you go home and you sit on the couch and you go drive your car and you never really earn anything because you think you're working smarter. But man, if you never really worked hard, if you never really went through those crazy times, there's not a requirement for hard work today. So if your parents don't teach and preach and model that to you, or if it's not self-imposed, that other part of you, that barbarian part of you who says, I don't give a fuck what everybody else is doing. If you never free that barbarian inside of you, if you never let that barbarian get out of its cage and eat the old being, the old fucking Brian Johnson, then you're relegated to a life of what's already sort of been decided for you. You're going to go stand in lines. I went to an airport.
I'm sorry. I just said, I'm sorry. By the way, before we go any further, this is Matthew Souza, the owner of CrossFit Livermore, wearing the beautiful red Ancestral supplement shirts. He's the producer of the show. Okay, go on.
So this is the craziest thing. Matthew, real quick, are you eating liver?
Not yet.
fuck, then I'm just gonna call you a brother. You're not a primal. You're a brother. Yes. So we got some work to do.
The stack over here, though.
Put that shit down the fucking hatch right now, man. Let's settle it. That way I can be on the podcast with two badass fucking primals going out and creating the future together. So this is the deal.
Hey, but he is eating raw meat, just so you know. We did get on the raw meat thing. We've started with the ground beef. We have dabbled. We take the ancestral supplements every day. We're in the cult, brother. We're just fucking. We're so pumped to know you. We're so pumped. Yes. Yeah, we feel this energy.
So here's the deal. Now. Yes. So you're officially didn't go. Yes, here it is. You're a fucking primal. This is it. So we are at the airport, and there's a long line coming out of man's bathroom, and it's like, how often do you see that? And so everyone's just getting in line, and this just happens in life, right? I mean, everybody just gets in line, just falls in line, and they put on their shirt, and they put on their sunscreen, and they put on whatever the popular advice is, and then they continue to live a life that fucking sucks, and they never really wake up, and they never really ask questions. So I told my kids, we're going to go to the front of this fucking line and figure out what's going on. At least we're going to ask them questions. We go to the front of the fucking line, and it turns out that the guys in the very front are waiting for a stall, and the urinals are empty. And everybody's still fucking piling up in line. So I yell back, I'm like, hey, guys, these fucking urinals are empty. I'm going to take my boys in here. We're going to take a piss, and then you guys might want to follow.
Leadership.
The deal. This is just what people just accept. Let's just get in line. So I would say along the way, yeah, there's been a whole lot of crazy shit that's been happening, but we've seen a whole lot of incredible benefit. And when you see that kind of change in the world, you got to figure out all the ways to amplify this. And this is why we're doing this today, right? We got to get this message out. And at the end of the day, the ownership is on you. Are you going to take massive action? Because most people's lives, you're going to hear me say this over and over today, most people's lives fucking suck. They're going to a job that they hate. They're coming home to a life they don't love. Then they're taking medication to feel better, to feel happy, and to get hard. And they're sedated just enough to get through the week. And then they do it all over again on Monday. And the thing is, there's a simple, elegant solution to living a fucking kick-ass, goddamn worth living life that's full of excitement and full of adventure and full of joy. The reason that we're here. And it's too short, man. So this is why I'm like, you know what? Did I want to go on your podcast? I didn't really want to do any of this.
No, I know.
You've been asking me to go on a podcast for
over a year. Yep, over a year.
And you probably don't know this, but I told Liver Queen I'm never fucking going on this podcast because I'm never going on a podcast, period. But I really feel like it's an obligation. It's a responsibility in life. We know what the path is to a better kick-ass fucking life, and it's not getting in line. It's doing these things that stretch us. It's sharing this message and hopefully motivating and creating enough momentum in people's lives to become primals. And so then they can touch the shoulder of the person next to them and they can do the same.
Man, you opened up so many doors here. When I was a young man, I was probably 22 years old. I went to this ball in San Francisco. It's called the Erotic Exotic Ball. It used to be called the Hookers Ball, and it was run by prostitutes. And they would do this ball and raise money and give it to the orphans, right? And then by the time I got there in my 20s, it was just a fucking raging party, right? And that community knows how to fucking party. The gay community's gone through like, when they party, they fucking rage. So I go to this party, and there's two huge lines coming out the bathroom. Like, it's going to be an hour each. And I'm 22 and I'm just drunk as fuck. And there's a huge silver trash can, like one of the big, huge, like ones you just see like at the fair or something. I walk right over to it, pull my cock and balls out. I'm only 5'5", get them up over the edge, and I pee in the can. Before I'm done, I'm surrounded shoulder to shoulder by other dudes. I come back 20 minutes later and it's 50 gallons of piss to the top. And I'm like, leadership. Fucking A, leadership. Yeah.
This is what an evolutionary hunter does. You leave the comfort of the cave for a better life, for excitement, for adventure, for a better life. And this is what you did. You invented a fucking bathroom
so I could get back to hit on girls sooner.
Exactly. And this is what we're programmed to do, right? Like, to be healthy enough to procreate. And yes, this is what you did. You had to figure out a way to get back to do that, so you could pass on your genes or get better at experiencing things to get better at passing on the genes. But I get people who say all the time, pissing in the bathroom or pissing in a tub. They're not actually saying this literally. That's not very ancestral. Wearing a hat's not ancestral. Doing a podcast is not ancestral. Flying on a private jet is not very ancestral. And what I always say back is these same subprimal primals back in the day would have said, oh, using a rock to open up a cranium, that's not very primal. Using a bifacial blade, that's not very primal. Using fire, that's not very primal. We have a technology story across time. And the real evolutionary hunter pisses in a fucking can when there's an hour line so you can get back to your real business. Right. I love it. Yeah. So all these people, and they say stupid shit like that. I'm like, yeah, I'll say stupid shit all you want. But you go out and do it, and you see what it feels like when you let that barbarian out of you and you really free yourself. This is the life worth living.
You say something that I really, 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 really like. You're going to suffer one way or another. You're going to suffer one way or another. Can you go into that for me? You touched on it when you talked about medications and coming home and watching Netflix, as opposed to doing the suffering that we do.
Yeah. So it really is delineated either by like active suffering or passive suffering. And I would say most of the world is just passively suffering, right? They've accepted this life that they feel that they're just, I don't want to say given, but it's like, you know, if you really work for it, if you go into the gym, if you suffer, if you struggle, if you go through the pain, if you earn anything and everything, on the other side of that active suffering is real relaxation, is real peace of mind, is real vacation, is real, God damn it, this fucking tastes good, this looks good, this feels good, shit, everything's good because you really earned it. That active suffering allows you to really earn and love that sort of life that's on the other side of it. And then so the alternative to that is when you don't earn anything, when you don't actively suffer, you're still suffering. This is what I alluded to earlier. Most people's lives suck. You know, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, you just talk to people. And there's hundreds of thousands of anecdotes out there, if not millions, but at least hundreds of thousands that I've been in contact with. My life sucks. I have depression. I have anxiety. I really want kids and I can't have kids. I have these autoimmune conditions. I have low energy. I have low libido and I have low ambition in life. How horrible to be relegated to a life like that. And so we know this, right? That if most people are suffering, are struggling, and they're passively going through these motions, and there's not much they're doing about it. They're looking for quick fixes. They're looking for these solutions because we're taught or told, hey, let's go get in line, AKA, let's go to our doctor. Let's go take a pill. You know, let's go do this thing, and let's go see if we can be sedated just enough, right? So that we can come back and do it again. So you can actively suffer by putting forth the effort, by enduring some fucking pain, some suffer, some struggle, and really earning it. I make my kids earn everything. If they get on the electronics for 40 minutes a day, they earn that shit. A lot of people are like, oh, you're Liver King. I bet you don't I let them earn it. You know, if they earn it, they can do it. And so we're either actively earning it, actively suffering, or we're passively, one way or another, you are going to suffer. So why not choose to suffer in a way that that you can create a life that's goddamn worth living? So this is what I talk about when I'm start talking about, hey, you're going to suffer one way or another. Get your ass in the gym. This is the easiest way to shift your state of being, is to work hard in the gym, because after that, you really know what it feels like to relax. Because guess what? Before that, you were already relaxing. you were already not doing shit. And so you don't even know what that demarcation point looks like because you never really changed anything. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. A kind of a real world example of that too. Give you two. One, they say pay your money, your $150 to go to the gym, or save that money because you're going to need it to go to the hospital in 10 years. So do you want to pay now or do you want to pay later? Do you want to suffer later? Suffer now in the gym, work hard, and then you don't have to go to the doctor in 10 years.
But in another thing is you're going to be suffering every fucking day leading up to that point.
Right.
You know, I mean, the passive suffering is exponentially greater. And you know, there's no major peaks and valleys. These are like valleys that are just slowly getting bigger. You know, so the difference between actively suffering and passively suffering, it's drastic. It's night and day, you know. So get out there. We're wired to work. You know, we're wired to do these things. And as evidenced by, you know, the feel-good neurotransmitters that we get, the rewards that we get afterwards. You know, like this is the whole evolution of dopamine and endorphins, is to reward certain behavior. You get out there and fucking work and you feel amazing. right? We get rewarded for that. That active suffering produces a life. You stack a life, and in a week, your life is it's better. In a month, it's
Way better.
geometrically better. In a year, you can become anything you want. So it's a different life.
Greg Glassman used to say that if you start CrossFit, 3 things are going to happen to you. Your relationship's either going to get better or you're going to get out of it. You're going to get a raise or you're going to get a new job. And what was the third thing? It was something along that line too. I forget. Do you remember what it was, Souza? There's a third thing. But basically, once you start changing your life, everything around you will start to change. I even just now, before this podcast started, I told myself, okay, you get to interview the Liver King today. And I feel this way about all my guests. What are you going to do to make sure that it's a great interview? And so my wife's like, hey, you're 50 years. I turned 50 today. She's like, why don't you go out there and do 50 burpees as fast as you can before the podcast? I said, excellent. But really, I was inside like, fuck. The fucking queen assigned me. I've never done 50 burpees as fast as I can. I've done 100 as fast as I can, but you can kind of hide in there. 50, you can't hide. There's no like, okay, I'm resting. So I went out in the garage, rode that assault bike for 10 minutes, reviewed my notes, and then got out there and I did 50 burpees in 157, took a cold shower, and bam, here I am for you.
That's a great time.
And I earned it. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, like, I feel like I earned it to be here with you and Susan now. It's like, yeah.
This is the approach that I have with almost everything that I do. There was a time I was going on a hunting trip with one of my sons, and I wanted a piece of gum. And I told him, hey, I'm going to just talk you through everything that I think about because, by default, we just do stuff. We don't explain everything we do. We just do stuff. And so when I'm on vacation or I'm connecting with just one of my guys, I explain everything to him. And so I say, hey, I really want this piece of gum, but I'm not going to have this piece of gum. I'm going to wait 15 minutes before I eat this piece of gum. And he's like, why are you going to do this? And I said, well, this is how I do everything. You're going to earn it. If you just go ahead and I'm going to do, I made a story about this, doing a workout in the car. You can do isometric holds, and you can start sweating, and I'm getting a pump in my biceps and I'm like, I earned that piece of fucking gum. and you know how it tastes better. Everything tastes better, man, when you earn it. Life is just better when you earn it. And do you know what? I'm obsessive about this. I'm sure that I've taken myself to depths. I don't recover nearly enough. But it's the way that I'm wired. And so I hear a few people criticize, that Liver King way. Hey, aren't you overtraining? What kind of message are you sending? You know what I'm really worried about? I'm worried about, these people that are passively suffering that aren't doing shit. Do I give a shit about the less than 1% like me that are overtraining, and I'm going to encourage them to overtrain? I'm not worried about the Liver Kings. These guys will figure it out. I'm worried about the rest of the world that don't earn shit. Yeah, so you can take this as far as you want, and it's a great thing if we're out and about somewhere, and we're going to a meal. Let's say we're going to Liver Queen's parents' house. If we're over there, I'll either do a workout right here at my house, or if we get there, I'm going to do a work. I'm either going to do burpees. I'm going to do a few max effort push-ups. I'm doing something before I eat, and everything tastes better, and you're in a better mood. Everything's better, man, when you earn it.
Do you know the raw meat guy? He's on Instagram. He had really, really bad skin. For 15 years, he had acne that was so bad. He's a kid. Maybe he's not. How old is that guy, Souza? Will you bring up his Instagram?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up.
His face was covered with acne. I'm pretty sure he learned it from you. He got turned on. He started eating raw meat, and within a week, 15 years of acne gone. He said that he couldn't wear a T-shirt for more than 2 months before he had to throw it away. This guy. Do you know this guy?
No.
Okay, so I had him on the podcast, and it was on a Monday morning, and I never eat on Sundays. I stop eating Saturday night, and I don't eat again until Monday morning. Well, when he was on the show, it was the first time I ever just opened up a pound of raw meat and ate it raw, and it's exactly what you said. It tasted so good because I hadn't eaten in 36 hours. And I would recommend anyone to take that wisdom that Liver King just gave us. If you want to try a new food, and in the past you hadn't liked it, whether it be liver, grapefruit, I don't care what it is, fast for 24 to 36 hours. Let your palate really, really need something. And do you ever do that? Do you ever notice that? What I'm saying? Is that along the same lines as you're thinking?
This is life.
Yeah.
The same goes when
I'd probably eat a snail after 48 hours. Oh, that's a great snail.
When people have never really worked, how does vacation feel for them?
Right.
You know,
Right.
when you've
Right.
always stuffed your mouth with the foods that you've wanted, how do you think that next meal really tastes and makes them feel? You know, so every once in a while when I'm talking to my kids and they're feeling like they're overworked or they're overdoing things, they're not really enjoying something, I'll either remind them of the vacation coming up and how much they're going to love that vacation, or I'll remind them, hey, what if we did another fasting mimicking diet right now? Just remember what that's like, and how does it feel when you have your next bite after that? So this advice is not just for food. This advice is really for everything in life.
We had Patrick Bet-David on. He's a businessman and insurance guru. Got like 20,000 agents, 150 offices, big time guy, right? And he was talking to us about being a young man. And I thought this was so amazing. He told himself he was in his 20s that he wasn't going to allow himself to have sex until he made $1 million. So he stopped having sex, and it took him 17 months.
17 months to make $1 million.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. But I just like I like the motivational factor for that. It's like the gum thing, right? You're like, well, I'm going to have a piece of gum. So the reward would be a 15 workout for a piece of gum. But to be with a woman, you got to make $1 million. And I love this kind of experimentation with life, to put the brain under that much stress to really earn the reward. And there really, maybe there is no greater reward that we have as humans than the union with the opposite sex. I mean, it's so cool. It would be horrible if we were like amoebas and we just split.
You know, the thing is, there's a lot that goes hand in hand there, right? When I was with the Maasai, we were asking them, I asked this gentleman, Amigbe, if he had a wife, and he said, no, not yet. And I said, how come? It's because he doesn't have enough cows. And so to pay the dowry, you need to make the equivalent of $1 million to get a wife, to have, you know, those cows, so that he can also procreate with her. So this is something, right, that transcends time, that transcends cultures.
Wow.
We need to be worthy, right? Like, we need to have resources, we need to have status, we need to say that we have value too. And so, you know, I love that he did that. Everything on the other side of earning it, man, exponentially better. You amplify everything.
So I was in Africa in Kenya, in between. I've been all over Africa, but there was this village I was in between Mombasa, which is on the coast, and Nairobi. So Nairobi is the capital of Kenya, and Mombasa is on the eastern seaboard. And there was a town there in the middle called Moi, I think, MOI. And then inland there was this tribe, right? It was like probably similar to your experience. They have no objects, right? They have their bowls are made of wood. They live in teepees and mud huts and all that shit. Anyway, so I was there filming this documentary, and there was a father there, and there was a grandfather there, and he was 80 years old, and he had 5 grandkids, and his daughter had died, and they were 5 grandkids from 5 different fathers, and now he's taking care of them from like 3 years old to like 12 years old. So I was there filming with him for 2 weeks, and I bought him goats. I can't remember if it was 4 or 6 goats. When I came back a year later, he had a wife. And I said, how did you get the wife? And it was what you said. He said, I bought him the goats and the wife showed up. I was like, holy shit. I mean, that wasn't even my intention.
This is it. This is the dowry. This is how it's done. You know, one way or another, you know, you're going to work for it. You're going to earn it. You know, I don't know if he really built that status on his own. It seems like you helped him out with it.
Right, right.
But everybody can, you know, take a helping hand. He better transform and become that person that would have built that status on his own. You know,
yeah.
But yeah, that's an incredible thing. This still happens. You know, when he told me that, I was like, oh shit. Like,
did you hook him up with a cow?
What I said is, I go, how the fuck are you gonna go get some cows? How are you gonna go get your 5 or 7 cows? And he said some excuses, some bullshit, you know. And I said, what you need to do is you need to go fucking kick someone's ass and go take their fucking cows, because this is also the way that it's been in the past, right? The easiest thing to get something that you want is you go to the neighboring tribe and you impose your force of will and you take that shit. And he just thought it was hilarious, you know. He's really laughing, you know, mucking it up. And I'm like, at some point you got to do something. You know, you can't just wait for your dad to give you 7 cows. What if your dad never gives you 7 cows? you got to start figuring out how are you going to go get those cows. So no, I'm not about to give this guy 7 cows, again, because at the end of the day, it sort of says the worth and value and the status that you have as a man. I go give this guy 7 cows, and now they're done with those cows. Now the wife is thinking, who the fuck is this guy that I thought was worthy of possessing 7 cows? Yeah, so this is not something that I would contribute. I think it's great that you did this, Sevan, and you helped this guy get married. This is not a liberty.
I corrupted him. He was 82. It was crazy. Hey, the one object that I did see he had a razor blade, and he kept it in this skin of this animal. And I remember he would cut his own nails and all his kids' nails with this razor blade. And it was hairball. It was hairball. Brian, these the Oregon pills. What I've done is I've taken them all out of these bottles here, and I put them all in one glass giant jar, and I shook them all up. And I take between 6 and 12 every single day. But I'm just curious, how are those made? How actually you and I met is like so Paul Saladino introduced me to the carnivore diet basically. And then I used that to kick my last bit of sugar addiction. I don't even know if it's addiction, but I didn't want to eat any added sugar, refined carbohydrates anymore. So I found this thing, Paul Saladino, and basically he said, you could just eat meat and you should eat Oregon meat. So I just did that for a month, and I started feeling a little weird. Something was off. Like my heart felt a little weird. My fingers started feeling weird. And that's when he pointed me to Heart and Soil and to Ancestral supplements. And basically, literally within hours, that shit went away. It was, I've never had a supplement affect me like that. You know what I mean? It was like, it felt like I took a drug, but it's probably, and so I've just been sticking to it. And then I would always make these jokes on my Instagram. Here I am taking dead animals in a pill. And then that's how I met some of your people. They started like teasing me on Instagram. I teased them back, and we became friends. And then I wanted to have you on the podcast, not because of this, but because of the incredible story of how you helped your kids, which hopefully we can get into. But how do they get the like dead animal parts in those capsules?
Yeah. It's not rocket science, it's
help me out.
The animals are slaughtered, and all the organs are collected to specification. And so once that's happened, then we go to a freeze dry facility. We mince everything, we grind everything. Everything is gently freeze dried. So I don't know how interesting.
What does that mean, freeze dried? What is that? I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I would say Google that shit, because for me to try and explain that technical process, what we're really doing is taking the moisture out of it to get to a water activity level of 2% or less. And so if you can get to that sort of water activity level, there's multiple ways of drying things. You can either use heat or this sort of vacuum sublimation where you're taking the moisture out. But any way you look at it, you're trying to get all the moisture out so that you can turn it into a powder, and so that the microbial load is virtually non-existent. And so then you can get it into a capsule, and then you can get people to not have to taste it. And then people can let it change their lives, because, we've evolved with glands and organs since the inception, and you could make the argument that the first organs we ever consumed that made us who we are today is the brain and the bone marrow, right? Before we could go out and do our things as predators, we were scavengers, and we would wait for the predators to go and do their things. And when they would leave the kills, oftentimes all you had were the skeletal remains, but you could take a cranium, you could take a long shaft bone that had marrow in it, you could break that shit open with a rock, or you could smash those, together on a rock, and you could access the brain, you could access the bone marrow, and then the cranial vault starts to explode. And then we start to learn how to make other weapons, and we learn how to hunt, and we learn how to then take preferential access of the animal. But we've always had organs, right? We've always in modern day primitive culture tribes, this is what they go for first. Nobody's going for the muscle meat first. Everybody's going for the organs first. And a lot of times then you're full and you're not even eating the muscle meat. This is going to the dogs, or this is going for something else. So it's just really important that this is the nourishment that we evolved with over millions of years to become the apex predators that we are today. Yet it's been missing from the diet for decades, if not hundreds of years. We've been favoring this tender, fall off the bone muscle meat it's not nutrient void, but if you compare it to organs that are completely rich of nutrients and peptides, this is why this has to be in the diet. This is why this is one of the 9 ancestral tenets. The second tenet is eat. And if you let liver in your life, you said that it helped you with you're having some issues, and it helped you with the sweets.
No, basically, I went on to the carnivore diet so that I could feel like I could eat as much as I wanted, and that I could leverage that to not eat sugar. So I did that, and I'm assuming I went into ketosis. I started craving fat like no other. Like I wanted to eat avocados and nuts like they were going out of style. But then after about a month, I was having some circulatory issues. Like I noticed my fingers and my feet would get a little cold, or I would hear my heart sometimes. And the second I started taking the ancestral supplements, all that shit went away, like within hours.
Yeah. And so most people don't even know what they're missing. But I'll tell you again, we always had these organs, right? And people are like, oh, why should I eat liver? What's in it? And I can tell you the riboflavin and the choline and the B12 and the heme iron and the peptides and the, all the good stuff that's in there. But the gist of it is alpha organisms have always selected the organs first. Right. If you want to be like a lion, like a killer whale, like these badass modern day primitive culture tribes kicking fucking ass in life, this is what you need to be eating. Right. And so you don't even know what micronutrients or what peptides you're missing. A lot of people there's this reductionist thinking, oh, this is protein and fat. This is so much more than that. Right. Food is a signaling mechanism. Food is information that we interpret that allows us to epigenetically express something. And so when we've been missing the things that we've evolved with for millions of years, chiefly liver, bone marrow, brain, heart, thymus, kidney, spleen, you name it, we've taken that out. And that's the stuff that allowed us to grow into these baddest mammalian predators that ever lived. We recently took that out. And so when you add that back in, this is what happens. Your skin tone comes back, your energy comes back, things that you didn't even know that you were living a suboptimal life. The best version of you starts to express itself. And this is really why the name is Liver King, because it's not like some egotistical, well, maybe part of it's egotistical, right? But like it really is, because liver is king. This is what I want people to know. Like in a 60-second clip on Instagram, if I'm making a story and I say Liver King here, one more time, I'm going to say Liver King. I'm going to refer to myself in the third person for branding purposes, and then Liver King out. You heard Liver King 3 fucking times. And it's Liver King because liver is king. And when I went to New York City and people were like, oh, Liver King. And I said, why is it Liver King? And half of them know, because liver is king. I just said to one of my kids' friends, I was coming into the house to come do the podcast, and he calls me Liver King. And I said, why? And he goes, because liver is king. And so
God, I love this.
Oh, it feels amazing, right? And so this is the story behind Liver King, right? Because I want everyone to know that liver is king. And if you start eating liver, you're going to pull the biggest lever of your life. You're going to become a primal. You can start embracing more of the 9 ancestral tenets, and then you can become anything. You can express your highest, your most dominant form, and then you can become a king. So this is why it's Liver King. And when you start eating these organs, you start to learn you don't even know where you have deficits, right? You start eating liver and bone marrow, and your energy is better, your sleep is better, your mental acuity is better, your libido is, everything gets better. And you didn't even know that you were living suboptimally until you start to fill up the tank.
Are you having any, how are you doing mentally with all of the attention? How do you go from not wanting to do this stuff to, like, were you freaking out in New York City? Like, do you have to, like, are you working on your breathing? Is it like a shitload of stimulus for a man like you? You know what I mean? Like, you must be like crazy sensitive to all that shit.
It's just fun. I'm having fun with it.
I love to hear that.
Early on, it was like, fuck, I have to do this. So I started doing it. And I gave myself a time. I'm like, oh, this is a two-way door. If I don't like this, at the end of the day, people pay for value, and they pay for value with time or money or both. And so a followership of Primals is an indication to me that what we're doing is valuable. If we're creating valuable content, then more Primals will come. And so when we saw the audience, the followership growing, I'm like, oh my God, we got 100,000 followers this quick. And now it's 200,000 followers. And it's like, I wasn't loving it. And I said, holy shit, I got to figure out a way to love this. And so I started having more fun with it. And I think, as you know, this, like, I love the metaphors, like putting reps in the gym is just like a metaphor for putting reps in life. And with enough reps, I got less concerned about the process and a whole lot more concerned with doing Barbarian in Times Square. Do you know how much fun I had doing that?
Yeah. Did you actually, how far did you pull that there?
A long fucking way.
Yeah.
my guys.
What did the cops say? Did the cops say anything to you?
This is great. When we went to Grand Central Station, the first cop was like, hey, this isn't going to happen. You're not going to do this here. Another 2 cops run up. and they want my fucking picture. They want to take pictures of everything. I couldn't believe it. Because y'all, I don't get out. I don't get out. I mean, I love the life that I've created here. You know, I live on acreage on the water. And then
in Texas, right?
In Texas. And then Liver King Ranch is 30 minutes from here. 500 acres at Liver King Ranch. There's nowhere else I want to. I don't have to go out for anything. And so when I went out there and I realized like the cops, the police officers know who Liver King is, like this was a special thing, you know, and so it's up to me. Like, I want to do barbarian because if you have a breath in you, then you have strength in you. And if you have strength in you, you got to preach and teach this message. And you know what this is about the barbarian, right? It's the barbarian that lives inside of us. Every man's got this barbarian in him, but he's been caged. And we got to figure out a way to let this fucking barbarian out of this cage and eat that previous version of himself. And when you train barbarian, you have to let that person out. When you do barbarian, you have to let that person out. You know, and I say this every Saturday. This is a way that we honor early ancestors, our recent ancestors, and all of that ancestral heritage in between, so we can be here today and we can enjoy the spoils of the modern world. There's a lot of other reasons why we train and we do barbarian, but this is a big thing that I want to make sure that we showcase to the world. Is I want to take special places. I want to go to the Kremlin, the Taj. You know, I want to go to several places and do fucking barbarian, you know, and explain why we're doing barbarian. And the craziest thing is I see people from all over the world training barbarian and figuring it out a way to get it done. They're using paint. They're holding paint cans for kettlebells. You know, they're building makeshift sleds. They're finding animals to put on their, but they're figuring out a way that they can train barbarian. So like, there's something special about doing this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This guy wants you to culturally appropriate him. Take whatever you want from this guy. Grow the beard, walk around with pride. You are so awesome. It is so cool. You are the walking example of it. I just love it when you pop up on my Instagram, because then I can be like, oh yeah, that's me. Like I'm that same guy. We're all just mirrors here, and I'm him. I can be like that too. And all I have to do is connect with you one place, and then the rest of it keeps growing. So one place we definitely connect is shoes. People would all the time. I'm a barefoot man. I've been barefoot before it was cool. Like I lost my shoes in college, and I just never put them back on. People be like, why are you barefoot? And I'd be like, no. You're the one who put shoes on. I wake up like this. You make decisions because you're confused. I don't make decisions. Like I put on shoes. Like if I was going in the snow, I would put on shoes. Or if I was, you know, but I didn't even need shoes to, like, I could, when I went to Cabo San Lucas, I was down there for 2 weeks in the desert, and even the locals were like, holy shit, he can walk barefoot down here. Yeah. The bottom of my feet are like leather soles. I could step on tacks, nothing.
And, you know, we've always had this connection to the earth.
Yeah.
This is Ancestral Tenet 5, is connect, because there's a slightly negative charge on the earth. And with rubber-soled shoes, buildings, elevated beds, and car, you name it, like how it's sad how few people actually connect with the earth. And how many people make up excuses. Oh, it's cold. It's, you know, hard to walk here. And, you know, the Machiganga tribe in the Amazon, they don't have any shoes. Some of the tribes in Africa, they did have shoes. Some didn't have shoes, or they had sandals. I'll never forget on a hunt with the Hadza, they were booking it. These guys move so fast.
Is it nice to see them move too? Like, do you want to is it like watching gazelles and shit? Or are you like, wow, these are movers, beautiful movers?
I've never seen humans move like this.
Yeah, awesome.
And yeah, like I've said this before, I'll say it again. They're beyond one mind. You know, the way that they move before you can think about it, they're moving in tandem. There's this electricity and intensity. And once again, you know, they have to be successful on the hunt, because if they're not successful, they don't eat. And if they don't eat, they die. This one tribesman in front of me has his sandals on. And like I said, he's fucking booking it. His sandal broke. And I was so happy. I was so happy that it's time to slow the fuck down. It was a little bit. I'm like, okay, when's he gonna fucking pick it up? And so I'm like, I'm counting. I give him to 10. I'm like, 1, 2, 3. I get to 10. He finally picks it up without breaking stride and doesn't slow down. Not only does he not slow down, I'm behind him. He doesn't know I'm watching him or what's going through my head. He kicks a fucking rock with his bare foot. And I really think maybe these guys know when you have the selective pressures that they have, I think they can communicate. I don't want to sound like a total freak, but almost
no.
And it's almost like he knew what I was thinking. And it was almost like, look at what the fuck. Not only am I not going to slow down, I'm going to show you this thing. You've never seen feet like this, by the way. Yeah, these guys are the wild bushmen, and it's incredible the way that they move, the selective pressures that they've overcome and adapted to what we're capable of, what they're capable of. It's such an incredible, valuable experience to know, like, man, we are capable of so much more than what you think. So the connection that we've always had to the earth, this is one of the ancestral tenets. Primitive culture tribes still do it. They have nowhere else to go. They're sleeping on the ground. They might not be connected all the time when they're wearing their sandals, but when they're sitting down, they're connected. The Machiganga, like I said, are always connected because they don't even have sandals. And when you're walking hand in hand with a loved one, and let's say you're on the beach or anywhere, and you have the sun shining on you, you're forced to be in the deepest parasympathetic state. Imagine that state of abundance. Imagine the way that that's healing you. And so few people return to that. You got to know what it feels like to have the grass, the sand, the earth beneath your feet. To connect like that is an important ancestral tenet. I'm just going to take this just a little bit further. When you're in a deep parasympathetic state, you probably know that you can be in a beta oxidation state. You can burn fat for fuel versus the contrast. If you are stressed out, and you're living a life of scarcity, then you have your glucose is high, your cortisol is high, you're not burning fat for fuel. Every 9 ancestral tenet helps to shape how we look, feel, perform, and function in the modern world. And so people like, hey, you don't want to do it because you think it's hocus pocus or it's not good enough for you to understand that this is the way we evolved with millions of years. We were always connected to the earth 24/7, 360. That's not good enough for you. You should at least know that this is going to affect your body composition. You want to look lean? You want to be ripped? You got to start fucking grounding. And a lot of people will start to just notice like their resting heart rate goes down, their blood pressure goes down, their autoimmune condition is less flared up. They can sleep better, and I get it. It's tough, to go from 0 to 60. You don't got to start with 30 minutes or an hour. Start with 2 minutes. If you like how that feels, go to 5, go to 10. You can always find ways to connect. And this is why we went to New York City, because I can't tell you how many bullshit excuses I get. Oh, you can't live ancestral in the city. Not if you're a city guy. You can't do it. And I knew that they were full of shit because of how many other primals will send me messages and success stories of how they do it. I'm like, fucking, I'm going to go and I'm going to show them how to do it. I'm going to show them the way that these other primals, in the big city do it. There's trees everywhere. So again, it's not fucking rocket science. You touch a tree. If you don't want to take off your fancy shoes and stand, there in that plot of dirt, you can touch a fucking tree and boom, you're connected. And some primal thought he was wise. And he's like, you know what, if you're connected to the cement and that's connected to the earth, how far can you take this? There's polymers and there's other things like that, right? That are going to disrupt the conductivity to really be connected or grounded. But man, that's just an important thing that you brought up. Connecting to the earth is a profound ancestral tenet. It's free, and you're going to derive massive benefits, once again, to express your highest and your most dominant form.
I took my kids to the mall yesterday. First, 2 5-year-olds and a 7-year-old. Never been to the mall before. We get out, we walk in there. They're barefoot, of course. Why would I tell them to put shoes on? We're in there, and and they see it. We're in this. It's a shopping store called Kohl's. I guess it's like a Macy's. And I was going in there to return some shit that I got from Amazon. They have a space where you can just dump it off and they scan it. So I took the kids are like, we want to go in. I'm like, all right, you never seen a place like this. So we go in there, and the first thing they walk in, they're like, holy shit. I'm like, what? They're like, it smells crazy in here. And I'm like, oh yeah, shit, it does smell crazy in here. They're like, I've never smelled these smells before, right? And it's just all fabrics and perfumes and just like cleaning products, like stuff that I just block out because I'm a 50, right? That I've smelled a million times. And then they see, in between the departments in the department store, like the lingerie and the underwear, there's those long strips, and they have all those tiles on the ground. And my boys think it's a fucking track. And so they just start doing sprints. I put it on my Instagram, 25-yard sprints back and forth, and they're doing races and setting up races, and people are just stopping and staring at them and taking pictures. I'm just over there returning my shit at Amazon. I'm I'm not like, part of me wants to be the parent and tell them to stop. I'm like, no, let someone else tell them to stop. Stop.
Multiple ancestral tenets. Yeah. Multiple ancestral tenets. That these guys are doing a whole lot better than the people that are watching them. Is this it?
Yeah, this is it. They're in the mall. They're like, what the hell? Look at. And they just start doing sprints here.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they're tripping on the floor. They're asking me, hey, can we take any of this shit home? They just want to know. They want to know everything about the store. I'm like, just keep doing what you're doing.
And I don't know, hopefully we don't go deep into this rabbit hole, but a lot of those smells that they're smelling, I'm sure that you know it. If you can smell it, it's getting into your lungs. And if it's getting into your lungs, you're diffusing that into your bloodstream. And a lot of this stuff is just estrogen laden shit. Whatever synthetic things that they're spraying a lot of these, garments with to preserve them. None of these are native chemicals. And so it's like, let's get in, let's return that shit as fast as possible, and let's get the fuck out of here.
Yep. I hear you on that. You say something, and this one touches really home with me because I'm having a lot of issues with this one, positive issues. But you said you're a piece of shit if you don't.
I think I know what you want to say.
Okay, go ahead. Basically, if you know the things that if you know the things that are best for all of mankind, and you're sitting by idly and not doing something about it, then you're a piece of shit. And I basically expressed that quite a bit on my Instagram. I'm so frustrated with these parents because I live in a city area, and I'm so frustrated with these parents who are putting masks on their kids when they know. Like when we're sitting together, they're like, masks are horrible. They're fucking up our kids. Or they know all of these bad things that are happening all around us, and yet they're still participating in them. And it's like, they're my friends, but they're also pieces of shit. Do you know what I mean? But they're still my friends. I love them, but they're fucking cunts. And I know I'm not special. Do you feel special, Brian? Like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything like crazy by like going in the store and the guy's like, put a mask on. I'm like, no, I'll take 3 apples, please.
Well,
like, it's my face. Fuck you.
I don't go to the store.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know if, I feel an obligation and a responsibility.
Yeah.
This is why I say, if you know these things, and these things are free, and these things are accessible, and you can start implementing these things, the 9 ancestral tenets today, and it will radically change and transform your life for the better tomorrow. And when you know this stuff, because your kids were sick as fucking hell, and my boys were taking ambulance trips to the hospital because they stopped fucking breathing. They turned blue. They needed EpiPen shots. They would take ambulance trips to the hospital and then stay in the hospital because they didn't recover their breathing. And how long are you going to put up with that? As a good cave dad that really loves your guys, like, this is your purpose in life. You got to make sure that you're going to be able to raise your kids, right? This is your job. And so we got just tired of the same answers. It was just more Benadryl, more bullshit fucking EpiPen, and just stay away from dogs, stay away from dust, stay away from grass, stay away from pollutants in the air. So it's like, what do you fucking want, to happen? So you keep looking for solutions. And finally we found Ancestral Living, and that really resonated with us, right? We cut out the seed oils, we cut out the liquid calories, we cut out all processed foods, and we did that overnight. We cleaned house. Liver Queen did it. She cleaned fucking house. She took absolutely everything out. I mean, there was no going back. And I'll admit, I was like, fuck, like my ice cream. Like, I mean, this was like,
yeah, my wife's been doing that for years, slowly but surely. Everything that I like Tide soap, gone. Like, everything that I like, gone.
Good.
Gone. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. My wife does that.
Because as soon as we switched over to wild caught, organic, nose to tail, chiefly liver and bone marrow, I'm telling, and within 2 days, my kids were incredible. My boys that were not thriving reached a level of thriving, a vibrancy, a robustness, a mental clarity, this sort of personality that you realize, holy shit, like, you felt guilty that they were living a dulled down version of themselves for all these years.
You were basically poisoning them.
At 100%. And that's child abuse, and so the thing is, when you know this, then it becomes your obligation and your responsibility. And I say, you're a piece of shit if you don't go model, teach, and preach this to the world, because these are kids, they deserve the chance at a badass fucking life, at a decent life, but we continue to sedate them and give them poison, and they're living this extremely dulled out version of themselves, so kids, there's an epidemic of kids with mood disorders today. This is beyond me. Metabolic disorders, there's an epidemic, and once again, there's a simple, elegant solution. And now we got something to do about it. So this is my job as the CEO of the Ancestral Lifestyle, is to take this ancestral message mainstream. I'm going to go on every fucking podcast I can go on. If you'll take me, I'm going there. I'm going to spread this message. And once again, it's accessible to everybody. You know, and some people will say, oh, you know, the eat part, well, that's expensive. You know, first thing I'll say is, well, focus on the other 8. The other 8 ancestral tenets don't cost anything. And whatever you're spending money on related to food right now, I believe it's a wash. I believe it's a wash. And when I started eating organs, it was $2 or $3 a pound. And then I decided, fuck, I'm eating a lot of organs. I'm gonna go start Liver King Ranch. So I don't have to fucking pay. I just drop cows and I drop babies, and now my herd is growing instead of being reduced every time I take a cow. So now not only does it not cost me anything, the thing is we got to figure it out, right? And it's I say it's virtually free, because you just got to be inventive. You got to figure out a way, how can you get these organs? A lot of butchers and a lot of processing facilities are actually paying to give their organs away. You just got to go develop a relationship. You got to go figure out how you can get this stuff in your life, because when you start to build a platform and people are listening to you, you got an obligation to be more than entertaining. If you know how to improve somebody's life, and what is life about if we don't have our health? If we don't have a health span? This is another a hilarious criticism I get all the time. It's like, our early ancestors, you want to live like our early ancestors? They only lived to 30. People say that shit all the time, you know, and I start fucking cracking up. And I'm like, you think what we're doing right now is living? Again, you call this living? I know I said this earlier, but you go to a job you hate, you come home to a life that you don't love, then you take medication and you sedate yourself as much as you possibly can until you get to the next fucking day, until you get to the weekend. You call that living? You know, our early ancestors didn't live that way. And these modern day primitive culture tribes, this is one of my favorite things about them. They seemingly have nothing. I know you saw this also, Sevan, in your travels. They have no material possessions. There's no way to repay these people. You know, you can't give them money. There's no.
They don't do money. That part's trippy.
And cool. You could possibly repay them with a weapon. Weapons are this is what they need to subsist.
I got my guy a wife.
You definitely got me there. But this is the thing. These are the happiest, most fulfilled, most content people group that I've ever met. And so this is the deal. That is what living is. It's about your health span, not about your lifespan. And so when people say this rubbish, this bullshit about our early ancestors lived to 30, the first thing I say is, you call that living? Because that's not fucking living. Let me tell you what living is. And it's living a life that's goddamn worth living, that's full of excitement, adventure, and it grows and it gets better because you got better. You know, that's what living really is. And then the reality of it is, like, this is just a fucking myth, right? If you take out infant mortality and adolescent accidents, the lifespan is the same. Yeah. The lifespan is the same, but with a far superior health span. So remember, and by the way, even if that were true, I would rather live to fucking 30 with that kind of life than the way that we limp along in this kind of life. Yeah, so I think I went down on a tangent there. I forgot.
No, it's good.
Where we were, but this is what living is about. And this is why, yeah, we got to amplify the message and spread the message.
Tell me about, where did you meet your wife? How old are you?
44.
44. Okay. Cause I heard you saying that, I think on Paul's podcast, I think you had mentioned that. How long have you been married?
18 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I view my marriage with my wife as kind of, the crown, my crowning achievement in my life, my relationship with my wife. It's having a long relationship, I think is that by the way, anyone who wants to see these ancestral tenets, there is a beautiful PDF on the website. I highly recommend you go there and download it. It is awesome. The whole entire website's amazing, by the way. Congratulations to you and your team. Easy to navigate and beautiful, tons of fun pictures, endless information on it. How did you meet your wife?
Snowboarding in Park City. You know, this has always been a passion of mine, is snowboarding. And I just happened to be in Park City, and I brought a best friend with me to Park City. And it was his first fucking time snowboarding. We're going up the lift, and I saw this girl that was strapping into her snowboard, and all I saw was a ponytail because she had her helmet and goggles on. But this is what I do. This is what an evolutionary hunter fucking does, right? Is you leave the comfort of the cave. I tell my best friend, I'm like, I see a girl, you figure out what you're doing next. I know what I'm doing next. And it was literally on the slopes. I thought that I impressed her enough. Maybe she saw me. Maybe because she took off before I'm yelling at her. Turns out later she had her headphones in. She saw me yelling at her. She's like, who's this fucking guy? I'm leaving. But I fucking, I hunted her down. I trapped her at the next lift line, and I started talking to her. you know, and this is something that like where the fuck did this go wrong? Like why do we not do that anymore? Right? Like how I don't understand, you know, because I got teenage boys now. I need my teenage boys to be engaging people like this. You know, let them strike out 100 fucking times. I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of times I struck out. The one time it mattered, it fucking worked. You know,
Yeah.
I needed my crown jewel achievement, like you said, it worked.
Yeah.
You know, so we rode together for the rest of the day. You know, we hit it off, and what a
Wow.
cool thing. We didn't know how the other person looked. We're both wearing helmets and goggles.
Wow.
What ends up happening, fast forward, is we got engaged in Fiji about 3 or 4 weeks later, and we got
What?
married. And we got married in Nevis about 3 months after that. So I'd never really been in a serious relationship in my adult life. But the minute I met her, the minute I met Liver Queen, I'm like, she is so much better than me. And I've never met anybody like this. I better make this happen fast. And I better become the person that I'm projecting to be, because I know she's going to see through it. And so she 100%, you know, what was the catalyst to me becoming, before I was a man, I was good at being a man. I would not have called myself a good man. There's no doubt in my mind that she was a catalyst to me becoming a good man.
Yeah, I could say that too. I don't even know if I was a man when I met my wife, but she definitely turned me into a good man. She taught me some really important things. That is amazing that you didn't see her. That's the first thing I thought. When you go skiing, you can't see shit. You can't tell if like someone's trying. Did you like her voice when you would talk to her?
You just fucking take reps, you know, you take reps, and sometimes it works out, and most of the time it doesn't. You know, I'll tell you what I noticed immediately is she's the most earnest person I've ever met.
What's that mean, earnest?
Pure-hearted.
Okay.
You know, she was born and raised in Poland, and
Okay.
she had like none of the typical sort of corruption that you might expect from someone in college, or that maybe I was in the wrong circles before. But the minute I started talking to her, I could tell how much she cared. I could tell how pure her heart was. And you know, this is the kind of person that you want to marry. You know, like if you're looking at your reciprocal opposite, like this is it, your complementary reciprocal opposite. You know, and this is something I talk to my kids about all the time. You know, and they're like, hey, you know, like I'm working out and I'm not really wanting to do this, or what about eating this food? And I said, what kind of life do you want to build, you know, in 10, 20 years? What kind of wife do you want to behold? Because whatever value you create in yourself is what you're going to attract in your complementary opposite, right? And so I tell them, you want a piece of shit wife, you become a piece of shit and don't do much. You know, if you exponentially create and build your value, you will create and build the life and the wife that you get to behold, because we marry our complementary opposites. And so there's no doubt in my mind that I leveled up major when I met her. And so that was it. I was like, how fast can we get this done? And then what's really funny is after we get married, like, damn, I thought I fucking had it all figured out, but I didn't. So now I got to get her pregnant as fast as possible. So it all worked out, you know, like we were set on this trajectory. We loved to go and snowboard together. We loved to mountain bike together. You know, there's a whole lot of it. When you can meet somebody and you share in that passion, I think even though we didn't share in a lot of principled things, we knew how to have fun together. And having fun together always brought us back. And I think if you meet someone who's also open-minded and committed to that growth mindset, well, it's the rest is fucking history.
Were you like this as a young man too? So basically, and hopefully we'll get there, but I'll sum it up in one sentence. You basically found something that helped the greatest loves of your life, your two boys. And so now, like a man who found God, you're screaming from the mountaintops, hey, this helped my boys. Anyone out, you feel a moral and ethical obligation to share that with the world, like anyone, because it's your greatest love, right? But did you already have that passion? Were you like that about snowboarding? I mean, you got married in 3 weeks. Were you just like obsessed with her and writing her poems, or what? And what was before snowboarding? Were you obsessed with weightlifting? Did you ever get obsessed with drugs? Like, is this, are you, I guess,
I'm hyper obsessive.
Even, I don't know if this is the right word. Would you say even eccentric?
I don't know if I would say eccentric. I would absolutely say obsessive. You know, and the thing is, I as soon as I've never felt this way about anybody, you know, and I just knew it. I knew that this was my shot. And I talk about using momentum. You know, this is why we share wins.
Mm.
And you got to use momentum to create and shape the life that you want to live in. Because I got the fucking momentum. I got the momentum. This is on my side, and you can get deals done that you otherwise would never be able to do.
Wow.
And I'll never forget when she said to me, "Hey, some of my best friends think we're moving a little fast." And I'm thinking,
a little.
fuck, you know, your friends are trying to fuck this up for me.
That too.
And so I remember telling her, "Hey, I know for certain you're the one for me. I know you're my soulmate. And if you don't feel the same, that's fine. You take your time. You take your time. I'll be right fucking here."
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Good answer.
And of course, she's like, "Oh no, let's stay the course. Let's stay the course." But I would say that I have been hyper obsessed, and when I find something I like, I chase it, right? And you hear a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, you know, like if there's something that I want to win at, or you know, I'll go after and I'll do it." You know, but how many people really put in the work, the sacrifice, the dedication over time to become a master at that thing? Like you've got to use the momentum, and you got to take massive fucking action, continue relentlessly in order to get it done. So, you know, as a kid, you asked, you know, like when I started lifting weights, or if I was like that in weightlifting. You know, I don't know if you want me to get into the story, but my adolescent years were fucking horrific. I would say from about 10 to 14, these were the worst fucking years, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. You know,
why? Were you abused?
I went to a school where I was the only one of my kind.
What does that mean? What?
Well, I was the only white kid in fucking school.
Okay.
And
what city was that in?
San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I was so fucking little. I ended up graduating middle school. I think at 14, I was still under 5 foot. And I got the shit kicked out of me almost every fucking day.
What were they? Were you did school with Mexicans or black dudes, or what were you in school with?
Everything except for me.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone except for me. There was one other kid I ended up making friends with in 7th or 8th grade. This guy's name was Paul Chalk. And I, oh my God, it was the best to have someone else who could, but this guy had figured it out. This guy kind of knew how to blend in. You wouldn't really necessarily know that this guy was a white guy like me. You could, but for me,
he had a little Eminem in him, but you weren't pulling it off. You had a little Pee Wee Herman in you.
I didn't know how to do any of that shit.
Right.
And then when my mom, she had this boyfriend who gave us gave us his kids' clothes, some hand-me-downs. And for the first time ever, I remember going to school. I was like, everything's going to change. I'm wearing these Red Wing boots, these cool Guess jeans. I'm going to look like them, and I'm going to fit in. And all of this fucking hazing and I would walk to class and not know where the punch is coming from. And I would just wake up after the bell rang.
No shit, it was that bad?
All the fucking time. And I don't know what schools are like now, but kids had guns in schools, and the teachers would never break up the fights, because if you broke up the fight, you would get the fucking shit kicked out of you if a teacher breaks up the fight. This stuff just went on. My first day of school, this guy's named Felix Sanchez. I'm thinking this guy's like, he looked like 30 years old, this guy.
He probably was
10 or 11. You know, he's got a mustache and everything. And this was like slow motion. And I remember him spitting a loogie in his hand. I'm like, what the fuck? Next thing I know, we're sort of coming towards one another. He smacks me in the face with it. And this guy's fucking hand is way bigger than my head. It didn't knock me out, but that's like, welcome to fucking middle school. This is before first period. Every single day. Did you cry when that happened? Or does I think it's shocking. It's shocking. And the cry doesn't happen until you go home.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so there was nobody I could turn to. You know, I didn't have a dad. I didn't have anybody that I could turn to share this with. So
brothers and sisters, no siblings?
I had an older brother. My older brother didn't give a fuck about that. You know, my older brother was tall. He had a mustache. He had fucking hair under his armpits. He had none of the problems that I had. So he was two grades ahead of me. And so he was in 8th grade when I was in 6th grade, but then he was fucking gone after that. So I had no one to stick up for me or to mentor me, anyone that had been through the same thing. I just remember my self-worth was fucking non-existent. I was embarrassed, completely humiliated of the person that I saw in the mirror. So here's the deal. I'm wearing these boots and these jeans, and I'm thinking everything's going to change. I fucking made it. I made it. And so we get to gym class that day. And now it's time to go put my fucking boots and jeans on, and they're gone. They're fucking gone. Somebody took them. And I remember running to Coach Moberg. Somebody stole my shit out of my locker, and he makes everyone stop. He starts doing these random inspection. Long story short, of course, I go home without those fucking jeans, without my boots. It all starts all over again, you know. And it's, I can't tell you how many days I walked home or went back into school without shoes because Lost and Found they run out of shoes. I ended up taking their shoes, and we ended up running out of shoes. But so my mom had another boyfriend, Michael Gleidsner, who had a bench and a weight set. And I asked him if I could use it. And
How old were you now? How old were you at this age?
11-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm definitely in 6th or 7th grade at this time. And he said, go to town. You know, you can have this thing. And so I did bench and curls every fucking day. And I started getting stronger, and I couldn't believe it that I'm getting stronger. And so then I started doing other things. I'm doing leg extensions. This is gonna help me. But then I'm doing like tricep work, and then I learn about power cleans. You know, like whatever the training in football, I'm doing these things too. And by the way, that Felix Sanchez story, there's dozens, if not hundreds, of those stories just like that. And so now I'm figuring out like, oh shit, I'm actually getting strong. There's something I can maybe do about this. And before there's a physical confrontation, my peers, other people are telling me, what are you doing? Because I'll never forget this. Some of the guys were saying, I look like Marky Mark. And when they said I look like Marky Mark, what greater compliment?
Yeah. I would have loved that. I'd have loved if fucking a dog, I thought I heard a dog bark that.
and then the girls finally, for the first time ever, I started to get some attention. And so I realized that I can create my own worth, my own value, my own esteem. You know, this set me on this trajectory where I realized I could become anything. This was my rite of passage. This is what made me into the evolutionary hunter I am today. I figured this out. And when it came time for me to impose my own fucking will, I got strong. And when I realized how strong I was, and now nobody wanted to fuck with this guy, all I had to say is, let's fucking take it outside. Not one time did anybody want to take it outside. One time, I take it back, one time, this guy Lee, he runs outside. Before I'm even done saying, let's take it outside, he runs outside, and I'm thinking, fuck, this guy's serious. Like, he must know something. And I'm thinking, I got myself into it. Let me fucking handle it. I get outside, he's not there. I go to one other place, he's not there. Anyways, I'll go back in the building, and he's fucking hiding in the building. And so one time I thought someone would get, but the thing is, you can build the strength in yourself. Right. And you can become anything. And when you have this strength, this is alpha virtue number one of men across time and space is strength. And you need to strength enables all other values to even be possible. Right. The strength enables mastery, honor, courage, generosity, integrity, anything. You got to be alive to philosophize. You got to have a breath in you, strength of a breath to be alive, to do anything. So I think when I figured out this part of my life, I'm like, man, I can do anything with this now. So this is sort of how the whole working out thing, when I figured that out, it's like, I just continued. So I would say from about 10 to now, I've been working out for 35 years, you know, and when I see people that ask me maybe on the beach or something, they're like, hey, how long did it take? Like, you don't fucking know.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, wrong question. Like, let's talk about some other things, you know, but like, yeah, this has been it for 35 years.
Basically every day.
Oh, 100%. And then, you know, when I started working out twice a day, pretty seriously, at least a decade ago. And I don't even count the third workouts. I mean, there's these little micro third workouts that I do. And I'll tell you, I don't know if social's been good or bad with this, but, you know, like I stack the fucking deck. So like, if I'm going to do a video, you bet your fucking ass I'm going to get a pump on. I'm about to go,
yeah.
Like right now, I don't look vascular at all. Right. But if I'm going to do a video, I'm going to do, let's say, upper body for 5 minutes on a salt bike. I'm doing fucking sprints. I'm getting my veins out. I'm getting my shoulders pumped. I'm doing a couple of max effort, you know, push-ups. And so because there's a decent amount of social that we do now, you know how many extra workouts I get a day?
Hey,
So,
you know what's cool about that? Someone might say some dumb shit like, well, he just gets vascular like that for the video. Well, of course, everyone wants to look good on video, but it's the other side that's really cool, that it's actually motivation for you to actually work harder. The same way I use the motivation to, before I do the podcast with any of my guests, I feel like I owe my guests to be the biggest bright-eyed, biggest bushy, most alert I can be. And what can do that? 10 minutes of hard work on the assault bike, 50 burpees, and fuck, I'm awake.
yeah.
I'm fucking awake. Yeah, it's cool. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Were you ever, when people are that mean to you, were you ever mean? Are you a nice person?
There was an evolution. So there's no doubt I had everyone's fucking name on a piece of paper because I wanted to fucking kill them.
Right.
No hyperbole whatsoever. I mean, but you got to remember this.
Spitting on another man's pretty bad, man. It's pretty fucking, it's about, I'd rather get fucking punched in the face. Spitting on a man's pretty fucking bad.
This is in the 80s. You know, this is in late 80s, super early 90s. But I would say from like maybe 87 to 91 or something like that. But I knew that you could kill someone because people would get fucking killed all the time around where I was growing up.
Yeah.
And so I just remember, man, if I can get, because people would bring these little 380 guns to school.
Wow.
If I get myself on a 380 gun, here's my fucking list. So, you know what? Like,
so you started getting pretty hard.
Here, long story short, I got hard. I got strong, and I learned how to fit in. And then my mom moved me to a totally different area of town to really fit in with the Caucasians. So by this time, I'm sticking my hair back. I got my ears pierced. You fucking name it.
Oh, okay. You look like you've done prison time, and then she moves you to the white neighborhood.
And now I'm the only one of my kind again.
You're the weirdo. I love it.
Right when you made it to the top.
Oh,
I'm telling you,
this is it's starting to all fall into place. All the pieces are starting to fall into place.
You figure it out. You figure it out.
You're most comfortable being the only one of your kind now. You've been trained to be the only one of your kind.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Yeah.
But you know, again, you figure it out. You just figure it out, you know, and then you can go anywhere and you can do anything.
Yeah, and that is what you're doing. You've become comfortable being the only one of your kind, and you've parlayed that into, okay, here's a gift for humanity. I'll be the best version of a man that I know of, and I'll fucking bare naked to humanity, and they can pick and choose what they fucking want.
Part of the responsibility that I feel to have that too is I did my own form of bullying in high school.
You did.
Oh yeah. Again, I got strong. I was strong. And when I saw how people feared me, and when I got in fights and the way that I was so dominant in those fights, this is all I knew. This is all I knew. And I didn't have one person to tell me this was bad. You know, so in fact, the guys at my peer group loved it. They're like, Brian, go, this guy said this shit about you, go do this thing to him. You know, and so my peer group, you know, egged it on too. And one day I grew a conscience. You know, I was like, this is fucked up. This is all wrong. And
you hurt someone and then you felt bad. Is that what happened?
No, there was not one incident. There was not one incident. It was just I mean, in college, everybody. I was in a fraternity, and everybody loved to fight. You know, the fraternity.
Right.
So finally, I just remember. It's not like I woke up one day. I just remember this isn't good. Like, I'm not helping anybody. I'm not doing anything productive with this. And then over time, I remember thinking, I got to make good on all this stuff now. Like, I've done some bad shit in the world. You know, I would never hearken that back to, oh, you know, they deserved it. I got bullied. Other people should be bullied.
Right.
You know, but it was like, I got to figure out a way to go do something really good, because I've also done my share of that. But yeah, so it was tough. I fucking hated some of these guys so bad. You know, the guy that did that. I mean, this other guy, Robert Bridgeford, I hope he's listening. You know, I'm going to football practice or gym one day. He just punches me in the face for no fun. I mean, again, it happens nonstop all the fucking time. And this is one reason why I feel like I've become hyper aware of things. You know, like you hear the vibration of a car, you know, because you don't know if they're going to get out and jump the fucking shit out of you. You become hyper aware of your situation, where you are, and how to grow and get better at everything all the time. You study how people communicate, right? And pick up those habits from them. And so, yeah, it's the best thing that I ever went through. I would never wish it on anybody, you know, but how do we recreate a legitimate rite of passage? for our
Yep.
own boys.
Yep.
You know, for years of real struggle to overcome, to persevere, to win. You know, at the end of the day, I always say our job as a parent is to affirm our kids with such depth that they come to believe in themselves. Right.
Ah,
And when they come to believe in themselves, they take real leadership, agency, ownership, responsibility over the life that they are going to create. But this is what's happening today is parents are affirming their kids with hollow worth and modern day trophies. And what they're producing are hollow adults. And so, yes, I'm hard on my kids. And yes, I make my kids earn it. But what I would say is I'm affirming my kids with the depth of challenge. And my goal is not for them to enjoy everything that they do. You know, my goal is to make sure that they come to believe in themselves, right? And they understand that they can create and shape the life that they want to live in. And that's real leadership. And so nobody deserves to go through 4 or 5 years of that. But kids today need to go through something tough. And this is part of the reason why I'm trying to promote Barbarian the way that I'm promoting it is because you know how many adults never have had a rite of passage, period? And they know something's missing. They know. Adults know that there's something sacred that is missing. They've never gone through a rite of passage. They want to go through this rite of passage. I can't tell you how many people come here and visit, and they're like, hey, can I do that thing? Can I do Barbarian? You know, they want it. I mean, this is a multiple hour workout. A lot of people don't ever finish it, you know, but this is
partially. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. Do you have a bunch of time left, by the way?
Let's keep talking.
Okay. I just need to go pee in my yard, right? Can I give me 30 seconds? I just need to pee.
If you're going to piss, I'm going to piss.
Okay. Let's pee break.
Quick
pee break. Quick pee break.
That's the sound of a 360-degree barbell brush by Hybrid Athletics.
I can't wait to get into some of that talk about the Barbarian, though, because I thought I used to do a mile sled drag every so often, and I thought that was difficult. And once I started to see the way that you do it there, I was really inspired to challenge myself.
What have you done to up it?
Nothing. Now I'm feeling weak about it, so I definitely need to get back after it, stack another plate, and carry some kettlebells with my next one. That's for sure.
I'll tell you, you know, after doing Barbarian for so many years, I started another company called Tip of the Spear, which is sort of a parent company to a lot of these other companies that I'm running. And I said, okay, Tip of the Spear is going to need something that's much more difficult than Barbarian. So that's when I started Super Barbarian. And so when I started training Super Barbarian, you know, and Super Barbarian is it's half of your body weight in each hand is the kettlebell, right? So I'm 200, so I have 100-pound kettlebells in each hand. It's 100 pounds in the backpack. So 50% of your body weight's in the backpack. 100% of your body weight goes on top of the sled, right? So 200 pounds on top of the sled, which it's all the way full with the plates that we use. And then you have your 20-pound ankle weights. I remember I didn't really work up to it. I basically went from Barbarian to Super Barbarian, and the sled wouldn't fucking move. I couldn't get it to move. And I said, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Because I already told people I came up with the next evolution, right? The growth. If you're going to be in Tip of the Spear, if you're going to make
this is a great story.
You have to do Super Barbarian. And it scared the shit out of me as I started training for it because I didn't know how I was going to do this for a mile. And this is what a rite of passage should do for you, right? It should stretch you so drastically that it should scare the shit out of you. And you really seriously doubt, like, can I do this? And so I continued to train and and I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, this might take me 6, 8, 10 hours to do. I can do this. I know I can do this. Like I built the confidence where I could do it. And so this is such a special thing, you know, to be able to share this with people. When I see people do Barbarian, we just had 2 guys do Barbarian. We had a Barbarian party just recently, and it was Andrew and Cullen. And to see these guys do Barbarian is one of the most special things I've ever seen. You know,
are they employees of yours?
They are. And by the way, we don't make people do Barbarian.
You should.
You can choose to do it. And so far, we've never had anybody not choose to do it. But here's the thing, Cullen.
Your 15-year-old son did it.
My 15, this was his rite of passage.
I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, you know, you can't do that. I'm like, why not? They're like, you're a little man. You need mass to move mass. And then yesterday I heard your 15-year-old son did it. I'm like, well, fuck.
This is right. Yeah. My 15-year-old son did it because this
How many hours
to becoming a man for my son?
Yeah.
I believe it was 2 or 2.5.
Is it emotional at that length? Like at 30 minutes, is he angry? At 45, he's happy. At an hour and a half, you're crying. And at 2 hours, you're like, shit, I need to get a new girlfriend. You're like, you're pumped. Like, is it an emotional process?
Here's the thing, for him or for me or for other people?
For him, for the doer.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure for you it was emotional as all get out, but I mean to watch your son do that. But for him, does he go through ups and downs? And
Yeah, so for everyone, it's so drastically different.
okay.
This is the reason why. So it's not just about the physical strength. When you go out and do barbarian, this is what you know requires every aspect of you: the mental strength, the emotional strength, the spiritual strength. And I think it's such an elegantly designed workout that there's not one thing that's going to fail before the other. It's not like your grip fails and then like you still have capacity left in you. It's like your grip and capacity and your shoulders, and it's like almost everything kind of goes about the same time. So to answer your question, it was his time to do the barbarian, and I saw him start and I left. I left because I had another obligation. And I see Liver Queen go out, and I say, "Hey, he started," and she goes to check on him, and I said, "Do not fucking check on him." Could you imagine
the great nurturer mama comes out and checks on you when you're doing that's not
oh
good.
My God, like I knew that would be so bad. I said, "Do not look at him. Do not check on him. You can be here for his homecoming."
Right.
But the thing about barbarian is a lot like other primitive culture tribes. This is something you do on your own. You go out in the world, you go do this thing on your own. You may or may not come back. And so when I got to talk to him about the experience, he knew how hard that he had been training for this for months. And when you train, this is another great example of life, right? Like when you really, really train really hard for something that you don't think you can do, when it comes time for the real thing, you fucking crush it.
Right.
You crush it. So even when we were on vacation, anywhere we went, he was training for barbarian because he knew it was coming, and everyone thought he could do that. His peers thought he couldn't do it. His own CrossFit coach said, "Don't do it. Change the weights. Get him to do something else." Liver Queen said, "We can't have him do this." And I'm like, he's 15. It's time for him to complete his rite of passage. He's going to learn that he can do something that not only did no one else think he could do, he didn't think he could do it. And not only did he do it, but he did it with a mental and emotional and spiritual strength, and the physical, the preparation guided him through it. And again, he realized the leadership, the ownership, the agency that he had in this. He created the life, the outcome that he had set forth. This is part of crossing that chasm to become a man. So he did it. And this is something that I want to create the opportunity for millions of people to go out and to complete this rite of passage. Because again, you don't just put on the weights and go and do this, right? Mm-hmm. You start to train for it. And the training aspect is, it doesn't just happen. That barbarian's got to come out. And then eventually one day, like the barbarian continues to come out, and you're like, I'm getting to know who this guy is. I'm getting to know this barbarian. And you let him out enough, and that barbarian figures out a way of that cage permanently. And then you create and shape the life that you want to live forever. So yeah, I'm so proud of him to do that. And my 13-year-old Rad is he can't wait to do it.
Do you know another you?
Say that again.
Liver King, do you know another you? Like, do you know anyone and you're like, oh, that guy's doing what I'm doing? Like two lawyers, like who went to law school and now they're in a law firm and they can't wait to meet a girl and they can't wait to have kids and they can't wait to buy a house in the Hamptons. And there's 10,000 of those guys. Do you know another a barbarian? Do you know another king? Do you know any other kings?
I haven't thought about that. If I think about it, maybe the thing is, a king is somebody.
You're doing something. Sorry to interrupt you. You're doing something so unique. You're not just another buff guy on Instagram. That's the thing, and everyone knows that. Mm-hmm. You're not just you're not just another. You're doing something that's really, really that everyone's connecting to because they know it's accessible to them. And you're showing us how you're doing it. And there is a emotional, spiritual, physical, intellectual freedom to it all. You're kind of what hippies should have been. You know what I mean? Like you're just a big old, like, you picture you're like you're just a dude who's like looks like he should be sitting on a throne with a drumstick from a pterodactyl. You know what I mean? Like
I love that you just said pterodactyl. When I went
I'm thinking the only bird you would eat, you wouldn't eat a chicken. You would have to have like a real fucking like some yes.
and
you're so fun. It's so refreshing. This freedom. And then the story that it comes from, and I gotta get to some of the details of this. It's when sorry, I'm gonna hijack this a little bit. So you get your wife pregnant with you have 2 sons, is that correct?
I actually have 3 boys.
3 boys. Okay.
Yeah, my wife and I have 2, and then I have an older son.
Okay, and how old's your oldest son?
I believe he just turned 18.
Oh shit! Congratulations.
Yeah.
And your youngest son is how old?
13.
13. And the middle guy is
15.
15. Okay. Oh man, did the 13-year-old see the 15-year-old do the barbarian?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
We sent him out on his ranger just to make sure he wasn't fucking dead, and like just go make sure, because if he's passed out, because people start barbarian and pass out. People start barbarian and they legitimately pass out. So we're like, Rad, you go check on Stryker. You just drive the ranger out there. Don't go talk to him. Don't look at him in his eyes. We just need to know if he's up and if he's moving.
Wow. So you start having the boys. When do you notice in which boy of these 3, the middle, youngest, that you notice, okay, something's wrong. This is not it. Something this child's is not healthy.
When they were sick?
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, it was nonstop. It was like they would projectile vomit, and we would feed them something that was supposed to be okay,
like even when they were babies.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, even when they were babies.
All 3 boys?
I don't know a whole lot. I can't really say that about Zach. I wasn't really engaged in his life in those years, so don't know that. But I remember we got a dog, a boxer, and they broke out in hives. We're like, oh, well, let's wash the dog, and then they continue to break out in hives. And there's obviously like this immune reaction happen. I mean, they're allergic to life. They're allergic to, they would break out in hives and have issues breathing. I'm telling you about the extreme examples about going to the hospital, stuff like, but they had issues breathing. You can tell respiratory distress, the wheezing, that's nonstop. And so there were continual issues. And so, I wouldn't really say like there was one massive issue that said, hey, there were several.
Were you scared? Were you living in fear for your boys? Like, that sounds like the worst thing. Like, a parent wants to see their kids thrive. And like, were you living in fear? Like, oh, fuck.
100%.
Are these my 2 greatest? It's like, that's your Sistine Chapel, your boys.
Yeah.
Your greatest creation.
Yeah. And anywhere we went, think about this, like anywhere you go, ski lessons. Now you're talking to the instructor. You're giving the instructor an EpiPen. You're making sure that he has an EpiPen on him also, and the Benadryl, and then you're checking on him all throughout the day too. It's like anywhere and everywhere you go, you think about where's the closest hospital. What's the emergency system look like? Does everybody knows, everybody prepared? What if there's a shift change? Because there will be a shift change and you won't even know to ask that question until there's a shift change. And now you realize this other person who's taking care of your fucking little kid don't even know what the fuck is going on. And so you kind of get used to it, and of course it's like with anything in life, you got to take extreme ownership over it. And you got to figure out, these are the questions that I didn't know to ask that now I know to ask. So
who got you on the right path? When were you like for a while, I'm guessing you were like, okay, thank God for doctors, thank God for EpiPens. And then at some point where you just like, did you see something? I mean, you were telling me that your wife started figuring some shit out. Okay, we're getting rid of the Tide soap, we're getting rid of the cleaners, we're getting rid of this, these pollutants around the house. But what was the like, how old were the boys and when did you reach that like, oh shit, I really have to, this can't go on like this?
Yeah. You know what? We never stopped trying to figure out a solution. We started allergy shots. It's like, when you're wired this way, this is the growth mindset, right? This is the betterment mindset. It's like, how do you figure this out? How do you shape and get better? How do you continue to just switch doctors? You just switch doctors and it's like you're looking for a different answer, but the answer is exactly the fucking same. Everyone you go to. And I would say, after asking doctors over and over, and it's like, oh God, we got to just read. We got to start reading and researching. And then, like I said, we came across, I think it was actually one of Sally Fallon's books. Then we learned about Weston A. Price. And we're like, wow, this whole ancestral thing, like, well, this doesn't seem like there's no fad diet. This has been our diet since the inception of time. Like this makes a lot of sense. Maybe we should try just cutting out all this futuristic shit and just go back to the original human diet. And within, what did we have to lose? There was nothing to lose. At first, our boys didn't want to eat any of it. Like, who wants to eat liver and bone broth? When you're eating this hyper other palatable shit. And so at first they didn't eat, but then after a couple of days, man, they were starving.
How old were they when this happened?
5 and 3.
Yeah, it amazes me when parents are like, my kid, like, I'll use pizza as an example. I order pizza with bell peppers and tomatoes, let's say, and the parent will be like, my kids won't eat it. And I'll be like, what do you mean they won't eat it? Well, they won't eat it, so I had to order them a special pizza. Well, and I know pizza is not the ideal food. I don't really feed my kid pizza either. And I'm just thinking to myself, what do you mean your kid won't fucking eat it? Then he doesn't fucking eat. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you took that attitude. All right, then you won't eat.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And so
it's hard. It broke your heart a little bit, right?
It was one of the hardest things that we've been through. When you see how emaciated they are, when you see that they have no energy, when it looks like they have the flu, when they're just begging for anything that they used to eat. Imagine when you're
they want a bowl of grape nuts or a bowl of Raisin Bran, right?
Anything.
Yep.
Yeah. And so when eventually they realize, that you're going to get the same thing for lunch that we put in front of you for breakfast, same thing for dinner. It's the same thing the next day. Again, once you're hungry, you'll eat anything. This is the trick. Once you are hungry, man, you will eat it and you'll love it. And then they wanted more and they wanted more. And I'm telling you, man, it was such a radically fast transformation. And all of those doubts, all of the efforts that went into it, the return on investment, we got to see exponential return immediately. And so now you lean in and now you say, how far can I take this? Right. And then you learn about everything ancestral based on first principles. So at first it's out of medical necessity. And then it's like we see how much they're kicking ass now. And so then it's based out of like, how far can we take this? How far can we optimize? And once we apply this to ourselves, we're like, holy shit, like, I'm getting stronger in the gym than I've ever been. And I'm 30 years old, 35 years old. And I'm like, you're not supposed to like peak and get stronger at 30. My physique has changed. And I've been working out. You got to remember, I'd already been working out for 25 years. So now I'm getting stronger and better build than I ever have. And we're like, how far can we go with this? And so we've really leaned in and like, okay, now how do we model, teach, and preach this in an organized way, which then really the 9 ancestral tenets were born out of. And then I thought, well, who the fuck am I to go and teach and preach the ways of our ancestors without going to visit with the primitive culture tribes all around the world? So I felt like to give the 9 ancestral tenets any credibility, I really got to go and observe this. I got to go see firsthand, which is why we hung out with the Macha Gang in the Amazon, the Datoga. Then we went to Africa and we've been with 5 or 6 tribes. We're headed to the Arctic later this month or next month. So the journey will continue.
How are you flying or boating?
We're flying.
Wow.
Yeah. In the Amazon, I'll tell you what, it was like, obviously it's a long flight to get there, but it was like an 8-hour drive. Then we spend another 8 hours on a riverboat. And this is the thing, when you go visit a primitive culture, they're not close to a big city. You better fucking get ready to buckle down and go on an adventure because, an 8-hour riverboat drive, I mean, this is all the electricity's gone. You're going down the Amazon. No one's going to be able to help you. And so once again, like as a leader, you got to be thinking about all the contingencies because your guide, fuck that, your guide doesn't know shit. I'm telling my guide, I want a backup boat. I want a backup car. What if the car breaks down? What if the boat breaks down? The cost for me to have an extra boat or an extra car is nothing. If you look at the whole cost of the trip, the cost of the trip is pretty expensive. To have this backup stuff, to have me have a doctor on hand that knows the infrastructure there, this is me planning for these things. And I'm like, oh, so now I know what I'm going to do better on the next trip. But this is our job, right? As a leader, dominate your environment. This is how you get prepared, and you're not going to be able to make excuses later. Oh, the car broke down. That sucks. We had to spend an extra 2 days here. If the riverboat breaks down, you're really fucked. Yeah,
dude, I was on the Mombasa Nairobi highway in a 2-car caravan, and one of the cars broke down, and everyone fucking jumped out into one car. And I was helping those people, me and the bodyguard, and the car drove off. and I was left there with two $15,000 Canon 1DX lenses, all the flashes, everything hanging on my neck. And it took me probably 6 hours to get back to my hotel with the guy. And of course, you know the scene. We're the only two people who even remotely, we're the only two people I saw for hours that have shoes, let alone, I mean, anyone could have just taken our shit. Fortunately, everyone was nice as fuck to us.
Yeah.
But man, dude, it was, yeah, that's smart what you're saying about the backup shit. And the people that were there, we were with, like grown ass men turned into whiny bitches like right away. Oh my God, the car's breaking down. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, like now's not the time to panic.
Yeah. So
I'm not. Do you thrive in stressful situations? I don't panic in stressful situations. Like my kid falls off the roof and like I get calm. I might be panicking when he's up there, but when he falls, I'm like, all right, I'm cool.
Yeah, well, I do think that there's a reason for this. I mean, if you look in your history, there's probably a reason for that too. But I've been through it so many times, you know, and so now it's really like you got to be calm in order to observe, to educate yourself on what the next moves are.
Yeah.
You know, when we were hiking in Banff, there was a grizzly bear. We didn't have any spray, and my wife is freaking out. One of my sons starts running, and I'm like, "You better fucking stop. You better chill out." I put myself between the two of them, so that we could assess the situation, right? Like you got to be able to be calm to assess the situation. Yeah, I think it just
wait. What happened?
I told everybody just fucking walk slowly. This just, and I didn't turn my back to it. You know, my uncle's like an expert in all this shit. He wasn't there, but you know, the experts tell you to, like, if it gets close enough to you, to get down in the fetal position and cover your fucking neck. And are you familiar with this?
Play dead.
Yeah,
and play dead thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, you think I'm gonna fucking die like that? You know, like, I'm like, you can die like that. I'll let you die like that. Anyone that wants to die like that, fine, go ahead. And I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of comments about this, but like, I'm gonna fucking do everything I can, you know, to fight for my fucking life
and your family's life, right?
Yes. At this point, I'm thinking, you know, like I'm sort of just trying to create distance between let my family go, and I'm just kind of standing there facing it. I would say it's about 50 yards away. And we just backed up, and it didn't bother us. And as soon as we got
Did it see you? Did it look at you and you looked at it and you're like, 100%. Yo, what's up?
Yeah. But yeah, you know, like you got to remain calm under pressure.
Yeah. You switch your child's diet when they're around 3 or 5. You start moving to organ meat. How long? How successful? You're saying it was successful right away. You just saw your kids basically just light up. And has it been just smooth sailing since then? Now for 10 years?
No, it hasn't been smooth sailing. I mean, you know, it's life, right?
But I mean, with their health,
we had one incident with Rad that was tough. That was maybe the hardest thing we've ever been through. Have you heard of PANDAS?
No.
So it's like I might get it wrong, but it's like pediatric autoimmune neurological disorder, and it came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere, and it's like nonstop, like obsessing over like irrational behaviors. And we'll never forget, like one day out of nowhere, he came up and said, "Hey, if a bad person spits, if you look at it, does it make you bad?" And of course, the answer is no. What if you're just in the area? Well, of course, the answer is no. What if it touches you? Of course, the answer is no. But now the same questions repeat, and he doesn't even know that he asked that question, and he's obsessing over it. And there's no break. It's nonstop. And there's violent screaming. I mean, we can't believe this is happening. What the fuck happened? We have no idea. I mean, this is like occupying all of his awake hours. And this is really why, fuck, dude, I never thought I would get emotional on a podcast. Paul is so much more than a friend to us. You know, Paul Saladino, we needed him. He was there for us when we needed him most. And we're thinking, you know what, like we're eating this ancestral way. What else can we be doing? And Paul dissected everything. And he's like, and we eat some chocolate, and it's 100% cacao fucking chocolate, 100% cacao chocolate with some wild honey. And Paul's like, this is it. You got to take this out. And I'm telling you, like you've lost your kid, man. Like your kid, there's no resemblance of your kid. And I remember he had sort of a moment of clarity, Rad did, where he said, I wish I had a baseball bat, and I would rather give myself brain damage than have the brain that I'm dealing with right now.
Oh, fuck. God, that must have broke your heart.
Oh, and he's 11, probably 11 at this time. Maybe even 10, I don't know. But anyways, Paul's like, well, everything you're doing is pretty solid, but here's what you got to do, like the honey and the chocolate. Within 2 days, he got better. Within 2 fucking days, he got better. And so again, this is I think so important for people to hear this. At first he cleared, this was like the only thing he would eat, by the way, was at this time. We would put other foods in front of him, but he's like, the only thing he would look forward to was that chocolate and honey. And so now we remove the chocolate and honey, and oh my God, you know, it was an even fucking worse living hell. And but here's the thing: if people need to know that this stuff happens. You know, first we're like, are we going to share this with people? People need to know. You know, I believe a hardcore keto carnivore diet can fix so many things. You know, you can get your child's life back. And so, no, it sure as fuck hasn't been smooth sailing. You know, this was much worse than anything we'd ever been through with him. Like, this was much worse than going to the hospital, you know, not being able to breathe, because this is like, you got to start to think, like, how are you going to get this? But we always knew we would figure it out. But
you did know, you had faith you would figure it out.
We knew we would figure it out. We had no fucking idea how, because we thought we were doing everything right.
Right.
Yeah. But very quickly, at first he didn't eat, you know, when we took that away. And not eating, like, you know, when you get into fasting, you know this, and this is why you fast the way that you fast. It's probably the most profound, effective metabolic intervention for almost everything out there. Right. And like, from an epigenetic standpoint, it allows you to start to fix and heal some of that shit. So I think that was a powerful lever. And then we proceeded, you know, there were still no carbs in his diet whatsoever, you know, for
wow.
about a month or 2 or 3 even, but within like about 2 or 3 days, he's better. Like 2 or 3 days, it's like,
yeah, it's nuts.
90% better. Yeah, 90% better. And so, yeah, definitely not smooth sailing. I hope it's smoother sailing from here on out. But again, like, what you already know this, like, once you figure out, like, you've been faced with some impossible situations in life, but you always figure out those impossible situations, you know, and now you're out in front of it. Like, then you start to build the confidence. Give me any impossible situation. I'll take anything. I'll be able to figure this out.
Wow.
Do your boys go to school?
No, my boys are homeschooled. Liver Queen is their teacher.
Yeah, my boys don't go to school either. They do that. And where do they play with? Do they play with other kids? When do they see other kids?
Yeah, she has this is gonna, I don't know how this is gonna come off. So they made friends a couple years ago where we used to live, and these are like their old like school kind of friends and neighborhood friends. She'll normally send like a limo to go pick up their friends.
Yeah, fuck it.
A limo, you know. So number one, you have a professional driver. It's our same driver, and it's not our limo, by the way. I would never fucking own a limo. And they love to get in the limo, and so she's great about this. She's great about like making sure that infrastructure is there for them, so that they can keep pushing each other. They can do these wild fucking crazy things. You know, they're stirring up so many issues on the streets. You know, they're pushing the boundaries for one another. And I always just tell them, because they're driving these cars, you know, these like high lifters, these SUVs, pretty fucking fast around here. And sometimes I'll see one of them, you know, dangling around the top, and I'll say, like, the one thing you can't fucking do is you can't take a head injury. So you need to get in a fucking seat. You know, y'all can do everything else, but no head injuries.
Gotcha. So they like-minded families and friends and the kids get together.
Definitely not like-minded families and friends, but like-minded kids.
Wow. No shit. There's no like-minded. You don't have like a I'm a bit of an oddball in my community, but we found kind of our like-minded people. You know what I mean? Like people who feed their kids the same thing, people who expect their kids to say please and thank you, you know, shit like that. You don't have that in your area, like some like-minded, like all the homeschooling moms and the moms that, you know, use cloth diapers or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm just like choosing shit to.
I don't know. That's probably a better question for Liver Queen. I don't really meddle a whole lot in that. All I know is this, like, it's from a real hardcore principle standpoint. And if you're looking at the 9 ancestral tenets, which like shapes and guides our life, it's hard to really meet people, you know, that believe in those sorts of things and act and execute on those sorts of things, you know, and when their friends come over, and like yesterday they did the cold plunge. And the friends did cold plunge with them, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you know, and so, and of course, like when their friends are here, their friends aren't going to eat nose. We still have our guys eat nose to tail. Their friends aren't going to eat nose to tail.
Right.
But like today that they're doing, I think your guys also do boxing, right?
Yeah, a lot of fighting, a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of boxing, like 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes.
Yeah, so today was striking classes, and so I looked out and saw on the lawn under the sun everybody's doing striking, which is cool that they bring them into that. So
Yeah.
that might be a better question for Lever Queen, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay. It's like it's fine at this point. I'm not looking to like build friendships or relationships. Like, you know what I need to do is I need to spread this fucking message. So again, it's like, let's show them, not tell them at first, and then a lot of people will start asking questions. Right. And if you ask questions, well, now you're really interested, because I'm done trying to shove this information down people's throats. Like the fact is, like, especially people around you.
You
I'm
sound
sure
so much like Greg Glassman. You sound so much like the founder
yeah?
of CrossFit. Yeah. You guys, it's amazing. It's almost like you guys were cut from the same cloth. And that's probably why your business is flourishing too. When I first started working at CrossFit, there were 300 gyms and there were only eight employees, and there were 300 affiliates. And when I left, there were hundreds of employees and 15,000 affiliates. And one of the craziest things about working there is that it was a cult in the sense that everyone who worked there, their life had been completely fucking changed from CrossFit, right? And so that's what you cannot recreate that. You can't pay someone $500,000 a year. And so we had all these, what Patrick Bet-David calls intrapreneurs, people inside an entrepreneurial program who were basically treated them, the boss let them be entrepreneurs inside of an entrepreneurship. And those are the hardest working employees, right? It's crazy. I'm guessing that's what you have. Like, everyone there has drank the Kool-Aid. Like, everyone there's trying to eat more organs. Everyone there's trying to work out. Everyone's trying to fucking get further away from the EMF. Everyone's trying to connect more with the ground. Everyone's trying to have healthier relationships. Is that the way it is? And as your business, you were a poor boy, and now you're a wealthy man in every aspect.
Yeah, I make no apologies for the value that we've created in the world.
You should not.
Especially if you look at where we've come from.
Yeah,
this is an incredible story to share, and I hope that it's inspiring, for others to do the same. So I've been a serial entrepreneur since my early 20s, and I've had plenty of failed businesses. And one of the things I figured out, similar to the how did you say it, an intrapreneur?
Intrapreneur. Am I pronouncing that right, Matt?
Yeah, intrapreneur.
Intrapreneur. Okay.
So this is what I figured out is, being an entrepreneur can be like one of the greatest growth levers for any individual in their life, right? I think it would be great if you have a little bit further along the maturity continuum, because you're about to lead people, right? And how do you scale and lead when you're still further down that maturity continuum? Like, if you're still insecure, if you're still dependent or even independent, I think you're going to have some major challenges, which I clearly had early on. But I think one of the most important things to do is the next step is to get hyper clear on what your why is. What's your why in the world, right? If you know exactly what your why is, and now you can find out other people that you're hiring, what is their why, and do your whys align? And if you have alignment with your whys, the mark that you want to make in the universe, these guys will go shoulder to shoulder and do anything, go to the edge of the earth for you. So now you got true believers. Right, a true believer will go to the edge of the earth. And so the true believers for the companies that I hire, people that have been through other horrific things, that have had Crohn's, that have had other autoimmune conditions, that have infertility reversed. They've had anxiety and depression and things that have trapped them in their own homes. They've been able to connect with the outside world. These are true believers that have been through these sorts of life experiences. And now you share the same why, because the why in the world, again, is because people are suffering and struggling with X, Y, and Z. Their lives suck. There's a simple, elegant solution to make a life that's goddamn worth living. They've been through this themselves. So now you have the deepest, most profound true believers. You have their discretionary time when they're driving, when they're taking a shower, when they're taking a shit. They're thinking. I had one guy ask me, I swear to God, he said, all I think about is work. Can you pay me for this other time? And I said, I fucking got you. This is how I hire. You know what I believe. If you believe what I believe, if we merge these whys, we're going to create all this good stuff in the world. This is how we make our mark in the universe. This is our purpose. This is our passion. We share this. This is why we exist. So I think that this is one of the most important things to do in a business, right? Is figure out where you are on the maturity continuum. Make sure that you continue to focus on yourself. You got to figure out a way to let that barbarian out, that evolutionary hunter out. But then the next step is get really hyper clear on your why. Make sure that you understand anyone you're going to hire. Make sure you understand their why. if you got a true believer, you can move forward with the next step. The next step is massive fucking action, relentless, massive action. Don't pivot to some new idea every 3 months. I'm sure you guys know the guys that do this, right? They pivot to a new idea every 3 or 6 months. And then the last step, as I would say, is you're going to fucking work hard. So make sure the way that you're working hard is for 9-digit figures annually, because what it takes to make 7, 6, let's say 6-digit figure annually, it's the same kind of effort it takes to make 9-digit figures, right? So play in a market that is that expansive. If you're going to work that fucking hard, because it's no more effort, it's no additional effort to work that hard. If you have true believers and you have this altruistic vision and you share this, these guys will go to the edge of the earth for you, right? And once you have that and you're clear as day on what the vision and mission is, you guys can go anywhere. You can do anything.
Have you ever thought about writing a business book?
All I care about right now are the people whose lives fucking suck.
That was a trick to see if you pivot. No, it wasn't. but I caught myself. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not being
the ancestral lifestyle, and this is what I'm going to continue to do. I know. So what I tell my guys is, I never try and compare myself to anyone or what we're doing to anybody, right? Because once again, that's the finite game, and that pulls you away from the infinite possibilities in life. But I will say this: McDonald's has done a good job. Coke has done a good job. If McDonald's and Coke can become mainstream while doing harm to the human condition, Ancestral Living can become mainstream while doing good to the human condition. This is my vision, is to make sure that we take Ancestral Living mainstream. And Ancestral Living, almost all of it doesn't cost anything, right? Virtually all of it is free. And you're already eating. So now you just got to transfer your dollars to the bullshit processed foods and the liquid calories to the stuff that's wild caught nose to tail. And you're probably going to save money. If you switch over to the ancestral tenets, you're probably going to actually save money, and you're going to realize you can become anything, even a king, right? So this is what I will continue to focus on. And I know that we're getting there. I know we're getting there, because now when I go places, I'm telling you, this is the weirdest thing. A few months ago, you already know that I was never on social media, right? We just got on social media 7 months ago.
Brand new.
And so I could go anywhere and nobody fucking knew who this guy was. And then finally we went somewhere and multiple people were like, oh, you're the liver king. And I was like, I didn't even know what to do. One guy said, can I come talk to you? I'm like, get the fuck over here. Who are you? We get to talking. And I said, why were you so timid? And he goes, well, I don't know what it's like to be a celebrity. And I'm thinking, fuck, I haven't neither do I.
I'm a barbarian. What are you talking about? Did you pound your chest? How are we calling a celebrity?
I couldn't believe it. And then going to New York City is really evidence that we're creating value in the world, because people know who this guy is now. And if you know who this guy is, you know that liver is king. And now we are going mainstream. We got a lot of work to do, but I think we're well on our way. We have momentum, and we are going to lean the fuck into that and amplify it anywhere and everywhere we can.
You mentioned the no processed foods. I bought a bag of the whole beast. Absolutely love it. I also I'm not a big processed food guy, but I will put that into some raw milk and chug that for a meal for myself. And after my kids do a workout, or if they're doing 2 or 3 workouts, which they often do in a row, I'll take a adult size scoop and split it over 3 cups and put whole milk in it. And when I put it on my Instagram, people be like, "Oh, you're peddling processed shit." And I don't care. I've never told people I'm not peddling processed shit. I do whatever the fuck I want. Fuck you. But I looked at the what do you say to that?
Yeah. So for me, ancestral supplements, heart and soil supplements, the fittest supplements, Medicine Man Plant Company supplements are all processed, right? So it really comes down to, I've always said, if you can go out and hunt, go on a sacred hunt, have that connection with the animal, have that connection with the land, there's nothing better than this.
Yeah, you actually told me, you're like, don't take the pills, eat all the organ meat you can. The pills are just like for a backup. And I'm like, oh, dude, I can't, I'm not there yet. You're like, okay, well, start getting there and get off the supplements. And it's you preach it. Yeah, you preach it.
Go do this thing. And then if you're not going to go on a hunt, go get to know your butcher. Go shake his fucking hand. Go look him in the eye. Go to a farmer's market and go put down the goddamn phone and make an actual connection. Know where your food comes from. And these are the best way to collect and to nourish yourself, right? Because you get more nourishment than just what the organs provide. This is what I know. A fraction of people are going to do that. And so there's this easy, simple, convenient way to let this stuff nourish you. And so my message is still the same. This is still processed stuff, right? We got liver, heart, pancreas, spleen, colostrum, blood, and bones inside the whole beast. And I still drink the whole beast and people are like, why the fuck do you have protein on top of protein? You know, and these guys at Barstool Sports did a podcast and they were talking about Liver King for like 15 minutes. And I loved it. I loved hearing it, every second of it. And they're like, yeah, it's true. I see what this guy eats for dinner. In addition to like 5 pounds of meat, he actually has a protein shake, which is true. And the protein in there is bovine protein. You know, it's not some whey protein isolate. It's what comes from the carcass of the animal. And then there's other things. I don't take colostrum otherwise. I don't take kidney every single day. I get enough from the whole beast to top off all of those peptides that I otherwise would not even be getting. And so what I try and tell people is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I think I said that it's the other way around. Don't let good be the enemy of perfect. You fucking know what I'm saying.
Right. Well said. Yep.
I don't give a fuck. You know, if this is the only way, you need to get liver in your life. You need to get bone marrow in your life. The organs, the complementary blend that's in the whole beast. Again, if you can go out and go on a hunt, do it. If you want to get to know your butcher, do it. If you're going to prepare it and consume it, go do it. That there's nothing better. A fraction of people are going to do that. The next best thing is to go get this stuff that's lightly processed and let that nourish you. And when you see how that nourishes you and changes your life, maybe one day you will start eating liver. But I guarantee you this will change you. This will put you on a trajectory. You're officially a primal, you know, and when you're officially a primal, that barbarian's fucking it's a matter of time that barbarian comes out.
When Paul Saladino says you shouldn't drink sparkling water out of a can, and he talks about how the inside's sprayed with this plastic and shit, but there it is again. You could what you just said. Hey, if you're drinking 6 Cokes a day and your step to getting off of 6 Cokes a day is to drink 3 sparkling waters, God bless you. Go for it, brother. Do your shit. Like yeah. I fully support that. Like it's steps. Are you a man of faith at all? Are you a religious guy? Were you brought up religious? Do you have are you?
I get asked this question all the fucking time. Why do you ask?
I'm just wondering because you've been through a lot of fucking hard shit, and a lot of people who've been through a lot of hard shit will seem to be religious people. Like at some point they turn to God, they turn to something esoteric.
Yeah, this is what I say. I believe we're all of one people. Mm-hmm. You know that my animal is my brother. I believe that we all breathe from the same body of air. We all drink from the same goddamn body of fucking water, right? It's in our ability to deeply love, to build these bonds with one another, you know, to share the success of the hunt that has made us who we are today. What makes that possible is something fucking extraordinary, you know, something extraordinary. I don't know what that thing is. You know, I'm still trying to discover that thing myself. Yeah, but whenever we start to talk about religions or anything that potentially is like, there's multiples, which means maybe I'm right, maybe you're wrong. You know what I'm like? We're pretty much fucking the same. Like we all have been shaped through the same life-giving forces. We're a whole lot more alike than we are different. This is what we need to focus on. Yeah, and this cracks me up too. I'm just gonna take a stab at this. When people ask me about like my views on what's going on around the world,
right?
You care what Liver King fucking thinks? You know, like what's going on over here? What first thing I say is get your fucking life in order. Get your life in order. Get your household in order. Be in a position where you can help your own fucking neighbor. If you can do this, you have the right to now maybe go help someone else. But when people are limping along in life and their own house is a fucking disaster, which is a lot of people's lives, like you have no hand in these other topics. So you know what? My mom raised me in a lot of, we went to a couple of different churches. I never really paid attention. In fact, my brother and I both got bullied in Sunday school. So, like we would go and we'd eat the fucking donuts and then we couldn't wait to go. We couldn't wait to leave. So in terms of identifying with a religion, I don't identify with a specific religion, but what I would say is we have a whole lot. There's something extraordinary here. And what I'm hoping to also discover going to visit all these indigenous culture tribes is I hope that there's a 10th tenet. I want to expand whether it has to do with plant medicine or because now some of the tribes have some really interesting thoughts on afterlife, but some tribes don't even think about it. Like some tribes are like, what we care about is today. All we care about is imagine living that present. You know, like the Hadza, all they care about is today. They devour the food for the day. They devour the day. They don't save a morsel for tomorrow. There's no visionary planning. There's no, imagine if you could live like that. There's something special there. Now, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying what an incredible experience, you know, the way that these people live. So, and again, like the fulfillment, the peace of mind, the happiness of these tribes, it transcends the way that you know, any of us are living today. These people are so incredibly happy. So I am hoping to expand and hopefully have another tenant. Like, I'm not just going to these places saying, oh yeah, you guys sleep like this, right? You guys eat like this, you move like this. Like, what I really hope to do, like, this isn't about me. Right. This is about the way that our ancestors have lived since the beginning of time. This is the way that about the primitive cultures, how they live today. This is about taking this back and refining the 9 ancestral tenets, maybe having a 10th or 11th over time. And I am seeing a lot of dogs. There's a lot of dogs in these primitive culture tribes, and making sure that we're empowered to live our best lives.
Have you been to India?
Not yet.
Boy, you're going to see something. I'll tell you about interesting about living in the present. When I was in, I don't know where it was. Maybe it was Malawi or Mozambique. I was somewhere, and I was in this fucking really isolated spot, right? Where people came from 10 miles away to get water to this one watering hole, right? And the water only came out of this pipe a couple hours every day. So if you got there and it wasn't, you didn't walk home. You stayed the night there. Everyone slept around this watering hole. It wasn't a well. It was actually water brought in from the government. And I'm sure you saw those when you're in Africa. Sometimes you'll just see on the side of the road women walking with the huge yellow buckets on their head of water, and their whole life is just about getting water. A lot of these people. And I was there at this watering hole, and about really close to it, like 20 feet away, there was a mulberry tree. And it was fucking hurting. And I was so surprised to see a mulberry tree in Africa. I was like, wow. And it was hurting. It was so hurting. And next to it, there's all this water spilling on the ground. And there's all these people filling water. So while I'm there, I put my camera down and I get a stick. And from where all the water spilling on the ground in between, because the water just comes out of this pipe and they move their bucket in between it. So every time you move a bucket in between it, water hits the ground. I dig a little tiny, I don't know, 4-inch wide fucking aqueduct, little canal that goes from where the watering hole is to the tree. So now all the runoff water is watering the tree. And I'm like, how the fuck did no one here see that? But I thought, well, it's because these fuckers are they're just living in the present, like they just want to make it like not to tomorrow, but one more minute.
And they need to get their lives in order, right? Their own lives in order, their own families, like their household. Because they can't help a neighbor, you know, and they're not going to go help this tree, right? They're forced.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Yeah, to focus on that tree. But this is something that also transcends all primitive cultures. Is we got to work just for water. I mean, they got to go work just for water, and we can't go do 15 or 30 push-ups. Right. I can't believe it.
You can't wait 15 minutes to have a piece of gum. What the fuck is wrong with you? You got to wait 12 hours for a cup of water. Yeah,
I mean, it's built into their daily living, the way that they move, the way that they lift heavy shit, you know, the way that they have to be mobile to balance that kind of water. You know, I mean, it's built into what they do. And I'm not surprised when I see how healthy they are because of all the work, because of all the mechanical loading, because of all the self-signaling that they're feeding themselves once again to epigenetically express a superior form. This is what we need to be doing. We need to take some notes.
When you told that story about the gum, I got a totally different lesson from it. What I heard was because I think most people, and I know a lot of people use that term, most people, but I think most people open a piece of gum, put it in their mouth, chew the gum, spit it out, and if you ask them, hey, did you have a piece of gum? They don't even know. And so when you told me you watched your thoughts come in saying you wanted a piece of gum, this is called meditation. You're in a 24-hour meditation. You are the man who's trapped in a room with a king cobra who will not take its eyes off of it. And that's your brain. The king doesn't let the brain rule him. You hear the brain turn on being like, I want a piece of gum. And the king goes, who the fuck are you? You'll wait 15 minutes. You don't run this fucking shit, bitch. And then the brain says, okay, I'll chill for 15 minutes. And what I hear when I hear that story, and then when you share that with your son, you're basically telling your son the big profound thing there isn't that you wait for gum, but I am a man who I am a king who watches my brain. My brain does not rule me. There is another. There is an other. There is an awareness that is conducting, and the thoughts are just a tool. I'm responsible for these thoughts, but they are not me. You know.
And there's not a lot of instant gratification that you see in these primitive culture tribes. You know, again, you got to really work for it. You know, you got to do. If it's just water, if it's just water, you know, if you're just thirsty, you know, let's just say you just want to take a piss like we just did.
Yeah.
You don't even just go out your front door to take, you know, a piss, or your hut to take a piss. It's like everything requires, you know, some thoughtfulness, you know, and a little bit of effort. Yeah. And wouldn't you say, I mean, come on, the way that instant gratification is ubiquitous today, you know, when it comes to food, when it comes to water, when it comes to pleasure, when it comes to entertainment, like we have instant gratification 24/7. So this should be something that I feel like something that is maybe a knee-jerk reaction for us. Like, let's be a little thoughtful about that. Let's just wait a few minutes. Let's train the brain, like you said, to show the brain who the fucking king is. Right. Because you get wrapped up in that world, you know, you can have a hard time really enjoying life.
Dude, people, porn addiction. I hear people talk about porn addiction. I'm 50 years old. When I was a little kid, the shit that we would do, we would come home from school and we would look at the World Book Encyclopedia, and we would look up the word bitch or ass or dick or fuck. And me and my friends would be like, dang, fuck ain't in there, but bitch is in there. Oh, dog, that sucks. I thought it was a bad word. And now these kids, I don't know how I'm ever going to give my kid a phone. Like, you could just type in any crazy thought you wanted. And there's a video of it probably happening. And what I think of that is because that's the instant form of gratification. And I think that's got to be corruption. Just corrupt. I think it just corrupts you, but not in the traditional. I don't mean in like in the religious or moral sense. I think it just corrupts your. Well, we saw what Patrick Bet David did it. He put a fucking safety pin on his dick for 17 months, and he made $1 million to take it off. I mean, it's like, you know, or a clothespin.
Is the way that seems like TikTok feeds you content. You know, people mindlessly.
Are you on TikTok? I don't do TikTok or Facebook. I just stick to Instagram.
Liver King is on TikTok, and I do respond to 3 or 4. I just started responding to a couple of comments a day on TikTok. But here's the thing. We were at a barbarian party, and somebody got in the back of the dually, and they said, hey, your phone is on your profile page. And she was kind of poking fun at me. And I said, she thought it was real funny. She's like, oh, look how I caught you being egotistical, right? And I said, well, where else would it be? You know, I mean, and I kind of meant that, like, I'm not just trying to be clever. And so I follow 5 people, you know, and half of them are my companies. You know, I'm very thoughtful about what I curate, and I use social as a weapon, you know, to educate you. But when you mindlessly consume content, this is when it gets dangerous, because somebody was talking about a BuzzFeed. Steffi does an interview, and she says something about like a TikTok for you page. I don't know if I'm saying this right. I don't even know what this is. I don't know what this is. She walks me through it. She shows me how to go to the home screen. So I go to the home screen, and she basically is like, this is the content that they serve you. And I look at that and I'm like, this is horrific. But it's entertainment. It's mindless. I could see how dangerous this can be for people. Like, we got to be really careful about, let's be like, let's go create the world we want to live in. Let's not be reactive to what somebody else is serving us. Let's say, here's where I find value in 4 or 5 people. You know, if I can find value from these 4 or 5 people enjoying their content, maybe if I have time, you know, I can follow somebody else. But I look at it as like a full library. If I want to follow somebody else, I got to take this other person away.
That's smart.
But this is what happens with porn, right? It's like it's absolutely ridiculous what it's doing for people. And this reminds me of one of my best bosses I ever had, one of the greatest mentors I ever had.
It's junk food. It's fucking junk food. It's like eating cotton candy when you really should be going to the gym, working out, and then peacocking at the beach looking for a real girl.
Leave it to you to summarize that perfectly. This is Jason Ritchie says this to me. We were in San Francisco, and there's 2 other guys with us, Brett and Tim, and there's some pretty girls that walk by. And Brett and Tim are gawking at him like, hey, check this out. You guys, let's check this out. And Jason just almost like backhands us. And he's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? You know, what you need to be doing is you need to go work out. You need to go create value in yourself, because do you know how you look when you gawk at other girls are seeing you do that? You look like a piece of shit when you're checking out a girl like that. What you need to do is go create value in yourself. So one day they'll see you as the complementary opposite. One day you'll be worthy, because right now you're not worthy. You know, and I remembered when he said that, I was like, I will never check out a girl ever again in my life. like that. And so this is what we need to do, right? Like, porn is like the antithesis of this. You know, like, it's accessible. It's right there. And this is the story I just told you. I tell my kids this all the time. Like, porn is there. Don't go watch that shit, because it's going to hijack your fucking brain. And people can't be with people. Men can't be with women that they love, that they want to be with, because they have this other idea, this fucking distorted deception of what love and sex actually is. I'm like, y'all don't go watch this shit, because this is what can happen to you. And then you won't be able to perform and be with somebody that you actually love and care about. And when you want to deepen that connection, that kind of bond, you're going to have trouble doing that. So don't let this create the brain damage that it does. So I think you know, of course, one day your kids will be older and you're going to need to give them a phone, but you're going to need to really talk to them about that kind of shit.
I just think that it's important to keep people busy, boys especially. I mean, probably girls too, but between the age of 12 and 35, if you're a dude, like people ask me, like a 30-year-old guy will ask me, hey, should I be fasting one day a week? I'm like, fuck no, it's an old man thing. It's over 40 years old. Like, don't do, like, maybe once a year, do that, fast for a couple of days. But like, I do it every week, and it's good at 49. I've slowed down. But and it's the same, but when you're 12 to 35, you should be fucking busy every day. You should be fucking grinding. And if you're not, bad shit's going to creep into your life. That phrase, the devil gives idle hands work. I mean, if you want to see the collapse of a society, anywhere you see, you're driving down the road in some fucking foreign country, or even in our own country, unfortunately, and you see 20, 18-year-old guys hanging out together on a corner, or these encampments full of tents, and it's just a bunch of fucking, they call them homeless. I know what they are, because I used to be homeless. They're just drug addicts. Anytime you see young men grouped together, it's a bad sign. It's a bad sign for society. It's a bad sign for civilization. It's a bad sign for them. It's a tragedy. Men need to be kept busy.
Mm-hmm.
What does fasting have to do with that?
Well, I was just thinking of different things. So sorry. That was a little bit of a brain fart. But like when you're older, you can slow down. Like I do think that there is I really enjoy at 49 years old waking up at 6 a.m, walking into my backyard barefoot, peeing in the tree, taking my clippers, clip some branches, pick some lemons to bring into the house. I don't need a lot of and then I prepare for my podcast, and I do my podcast from 7 to 9. And then from 9 to 10 o'clock at night, or 8 o'clock at night, I just with my boys. Just even if it's sitting on the beach watching, I'm just like that lion, just sleeping in the fucking, I just lay in the fucking bushes, you know, and just watch them. And then they go to bed at 8. I get my second workout in for the day. I'm done with that by 9:30. And then from 9:30 to midnight, I'm prepping for my podcast the next day. And I repeat. But I just feel like when you're 12 to 35, like, you need to be grinding. Like stay fucking busy, or busy is going to get you. Like smoking weed is, and this is from a guy who used to smoke a ton of weed. You're going to get older and be like, who would I have been if I didn't smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day? Who would I have been if I didn't smoke weed every single day? All the bad shit that you do when you're younger, it will catch up to you, and you will wonder when you're older, who would I have been if I didn't do that? And you know, a lot of these things are good troubles, but you don't want to damage your body. And you're not always going to be able to be young and work hard.
No, I think what you alluded to, Ancestral Tenet 8 is fight.
Oh, right? I love this. I love it how you do that.
Hunting, fighting, persevering, you know, and winning. And when you win, you get rewarded with a boost of dopamine and androgens that cultivate more of that behavior. It's like a closed loop. You know, the winners become more dominant. And so I think it's important. Yes, we got to have a purpose and a passion and a drive towards something that we can point ourselves at. When you're hanging out in a group for long enough, you know what? That's great for some social bonding. Put down the goddamn phone, and you can do that for a little bit. You need to know who you can count on. You need to know who's in your tribe. And that only happens by spending some time and space with them. But spend too much. And I 100% agree with what you're saying. You know, there's nothing good and productive that's going to come out of that, unless you're cooperating together to, of course, go make your mark in the world, to go do something that's your purpose and your passion. The fasting thing, which is ancestral tenet 2, is about eating. A lot of people want to know how to eat. It's just important to know that you better fucking stop eating. I don't agree with that you shouldn't fast between earlier ages. I think what I've seen is that this is a selective pressure. That's a real pressure. Not everyone is successful with a hunt. Women and kids come first. If there's anything left over, or if there's a small rodent that's caught, the women and kids get it. And so the men, I would say, irrespective of the age, if you're over 15, 20, you're not going to eat. And I just think there's so many profound benefits to this. If you're already really kicking fucking ass in life and you're already metabolically healthy, I think that you're probably right. There's not a whole lot of reason to fast. But let's face it, most of the population, number one, is not like that. And then number two, when I talk about fasting, I'm not like skip a fucking meal, right? Because people skip a meal today. It's intermittent fasting. And
I know, I don't buy that shit either. Are you going to say you don't buy that shit? Like, really fast, motherfucker.
This is ridiculous, But this is the last thing I'll say about this is I grew up without a dad. And knowing what I know now, if again, I'm a total piece of fucking shit if I don't do what I can do to be here for my boys. And so a 5-day water only fast once a quarter is something that I have to do to make sure that I'm here for my guys. Again,
a 5-day fast once every 3 months.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what we do. This is, and I do this with my wife, and then my boys will do like a fasting mimicking diet. And don't get me wrong, people are like, "Oh, you make your kids do." They're eating double fucking bacon cheeseburgers every day. Shut the fuck up. I mean, they're eating incredible food, all day long. And they're eating their eggs with slathered in butter and bacon, maybe a little avocado. Give me a fucking break. Like, they're eating it up. But so we do this as a family, and to do this as a family is a really special thing to do together. And could you imagine on day 5 when it's time to feast together, that kind of celebration, that kind of painstaking effort that you endured for a week? This is not an easy thing to do, So every Wednesday and Sunday, I go to 24 hours. It looks like you go to about 36 hours once a week. Is that right?
Yeah, I do it. I stop eating Saturday night so I can get the sleep in, kind of like that's the cheating. And then I don't eat all day Sunday, and then I sleep again because I'm trying just to get both sleeps in. Yeah,
that makes sense. So twice a week I'll do a 24-hour fast.
Okay.
And
wow.
But it's just 24 hours. Again, for me, that's like skipping a meal. It's not a big deal. And so once a quarter is the big deal. That's the metabolic lever. That's the life extension. That's a life insurance, you can't buy. And so when I do that once a quarter, I'm like, and then I feel like it's immeasurable the way that I feel after a 5-day water only fast. There's new heights. Now you're going to PR everything. So I do think it's important, just whenever we mention the second ancestral tenet, eat, and I'm talking about eat nose to tail, whole foods, it's important to also be thinking about, when do we not eat? Right, to honor the feast and famine cycle. And so I love, it's just effortless. Whenever I fast twice a week, it's like I feel like I'm skipping one meal, but I always do that simulated successful hunt before I break that fast. Because we talk about breaking our fast, and everyone's like, "Oh, how are you going to eat it? What are you going to eat?" I'm like, you break your fast by putting forth some real effort. Like, this is what our early ancestors, like, you wouldn't have been fasting and then you snap your fingers and now there's food. Right, you're fasting because you're not successful with a hunt, and now you still got to go out and hunt.
Yeah, I work out when I'm fasting. A lot of people say it's crazy.
Yeah,
I still do it.
And everybody thinks you're going to lose weight. You're going to go there's all these ridiculous things, people talk about. But eating once, and then people say, "Oh, you can only take in so many calories or so much protein at one time." Like, I don't know if any of that shit's true. All I know is, like, I try, if our early ancestors did it, and if modern day primitive culture tribes are doing this thing, I think there's something to it. I think that it's a way that we can honor our early ancestors. I think it's a way that, like, the human organism has evolved through these pressures to express our highest form, to epigenetically say, through autophagy and apoptosis and all these other, mitochondrial biogenesis, all these great fucking things that happen from fasting are otherwise virtually impossible, if you don't do this stuff. So, I just think it's important. If our early ancestors did it, if modern day primitive cultures, and if you're kicking fucking ass in life, well, I want some of this. I'm obviously, let's not adopt everything that they're doing, right? But if they're doing something that helped to really shape us, and if there seems to be some evidence to corroborate that, well, this is something I want in the 9 ancestral tenets.
Right. I have to take another pee break.
Well, how about this? We've been
I'm
been
doing a
talking
pee
for a
dance.
while. Aren't we going to be? By the way, why you got to piss so much? Maybe you need to take some prostate.
No, I'm going prostate's good. I worked out before we came on. I did right before we came on, and I drank 2 cups of water of this, and then I just drank a cup of this like dandelion tea, and I'm fucking my bladder's gonna pop.
So what you have to do? So do you own a CrossFit box?
Yeah, I do.
Which one is it?
CrossFit Livermore, California. It's just outside the Bay Area.
Right on. And could you imagine if you got more people? Like, what if you start training barbarian? How much you want to bet people are going to be like, "What are you doing?"
I think a lot, and in fact, I've used when I would do the mile sled drag, I use that as motivation because there's about a 1.2 mile loop around the gym, and so I do it because I know that as the members and stuff are driving in, they'll see me out there doing it, and there's also no quit. I can't call somebody and say, "Hey, can you come pick up my sled and my weights and everything else?" So I use that as basically motivation to keep myself doing it. And in fact, I already wrote out my first mini barbarian with some smaller percentages there. And I think after this, I'm going to head down there depending on my time frame and actually go do it now based off of 25% for the kettlebell, 35% for the backpack, 70.
Oh, we lost you, Souza. He broke up.
Oh, in my back.
Yeah, one thing I'll just say about that is we did barbarian. I should say I did barbarian across the Brooklyn Bridge.
On this last trip?
On this last trip.
Holy shit. Have you put that on your social media yet?
I believe they live streamed it. It hasn't been on the social media. I'm sure that they'll upload it to social or some of it to social. But have either of you guys been across the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yes, sir.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if you remember, but if you go from Manhattan to Brooklyn, it's almost all uphill. And I didn't figure out any of the logistics of this, right? I let them all figure it out. I just show up and I'm going to do barbarian. I am the machine. And so I show up and I get all ready and I'm going. I'm thinking, okay, I know what my barbarian time should be. If I push it really fucking hard, by the way, I am very proud to say I'm the barbarian world record holder. So I know what I can do. I know what I can do. And I'm going to do it. And so now I'm thinking we need to be leveling out. This bridge needs to be level. It never fucking levels out. As far as I can see, it's not leveling out. And then it goes from like concrete to wooden planks, which increases the drag. And then it's so afterwards, I said, who the fuck planned the logistics of barbarian across the Brooklyn Bridge? Because this was one of the hardest barbarians I've ever done. And then and somebody sort of like sheepishly was like, and I said, because it's the only fucking way to do it, right? Because would go from high ground to low ground to do barbarian, right? You want to choose the hardest fucking path. So I'm glad it was so during it, like it was it was definitely fucking hard as shit. So whenever you start training, man, like I would love, for you can inspire so many people to say, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing it? And again, like it should be when you know that you're honoring the struggle of our early ancestors, that you're honoring your own genetic fitness, that you're doing this so that you can enjoy the spoils of the modern world, this kind of sacrifice, and this is part of what I say in my speech. If I say enjoy the spoils of the modern world, it can be a time of peace and plenty. It could be a time, to whatever the fuck you want to earn. It's like, again, it means so much more. And when they know what barbarian stands for, and when you feel that barbarian coming out of you, you are going to set off a new type of energy. And how much you want to bet other members are going to be like, bro, I want to do that too. I want to do that.
Oh, so many people want to do it. So many people I know, because I mention your name on the podcast a lot. And people all the time will be like, oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. I bet you ankle weight sales and all that stuff that you use have skyrocketed.
For sure.
I bet you why don't you have a place on your site where someone can go buy all that stuff? Like these are the ankle weights, these are the chains, these are, not even to make money, but just at a convenience. Is that once again, that's just one of the things like, hey, you don't want to sway off course?
Yeah, I got proposed to do so many ridiculous things. The T-shirts, the hats, the coffee cutting board was kind of a cool one, actually. And then
that is cool. The knife,
There was like a really cool fucking like barbarian knife, and this guy sent me this fucking knife. I don't know if you can see the Liver King on it. He was like, "Oh, this will be the Liver King knife." At the end of the day, the core business is the core business. right? The
Right.
core business is this message, to amplify this message. And I refuse to get distracted from that. Like, if you're going to tell me how doing that is going to amplify this message, if you're going to tell me how this is going to end the struggle and the suffer of this X population and improve their life, I'm all ears. But if this thing is to finance, something else, I'm like, not interested in that. All the financial stuff, I'm sure that you know this. When you're living your life's passion, when you're creating value, again, people pay for value. And so it's validation that what you're doing is valuable. Right now, the last thing that I want to do is sell fucking knives or a hat, or Liver King sells, swag. Fuck that. Liver King is not going to sell swag. So yeah, this is something that I'm like, it's the full library. If you start to point yourself towards anything else, you take away from the most important thing in your life. So if we talk about prioritize, execute, dominate, like this is how you do it. Stay hyper focused.
Is your mom still alive?
Yeah.
I mean, my dad was in my life. I saw my dad on the weekends, and he was a great guy. It would be crazy to say he wasn't in my life. He was totally in my life and invested in my life. But I live with my mom. What is your relationship like with her? Like, are you close to her? Are you crazy proud? Is she crazy proud of you? How do you think that's molded your view towards women? Like, part of me is like, whenever I see like a women's movement shit, or like, I'm almost like offended by it. Like, you don't need to tell me what a fucking woman's capable of. Like, fuck you. Or anytime there's like women's pride shit, or like, because there's this implication that they're not worthy. I mean, we're not equal. I'm not saying one's better than the other. We're different creatures, but women are powerful creatures in their own right. They don't need any like fucking soft serve shit. Like, what are your feelings on that? Like, about what you learned by being raised by your mom and your relationship with her now?
Well, my mom was hardcore, and my mom was, mother and father, and she had to play both roles, and she had to discipline two motherfuckers. Two boys that were kind of close in age, so we did a lot of fucked up shit. She was also raised,
like throwing rocks, breaking windows, stealing candy from stores, shit like that.
All that.
Okay,
yeah. She was also raised in a military family, and then she was a military family. So, this is, I'm sure you remember the days, like nothing was off limits when it came to discipline and punishment. Nothing was off limits. And then just not too long ago, my brother, let her have it. My brother was like, hey, here's the way that you fucking raised me. Here's what you did. And, this probably wasn't a real good thing. And she's like, you don't believe all that, do you? I'm like, hey, first of all, it's all true. But who the fuck is he to come tell you this? You're 75 years old. You know what I mean? Like, how about some fucking gratitude? How about some agency, ownership, leadership over the life that a fucking 47, 48-year-old man is going to be living? Like, you're going to go tell her this shit at this point in your life?
Right.
I got a problem with that. My mom has just been ultra competitive, the consummate one-upper. Anything that you've done, she's done, and she's done it better.
Wow.
Guarantee you that. Yeah, she always really pushed us in sports, like even in high school.
So when you were getting beat up, she was like, well, take care of it, you pussy.
She didn't know about any of that shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she didn't know any of that. And there was no, how was your day? You know,
Okay.
there was one time when I came back from middle school, the first day of 6th grade, how was your day? And I said, I'm never going back. I'm never going back. And I'm sure I was crying. I'm sure I was fucking crying. And yeah, whatever she said to me, I remember there will never be words exchanged on this topic ever again in my life. And so that's what happened. You know, no words were ever shared. There was no questions ever again. She probably didn't want to know the fucking answer. But
Right.
Once again, I just want to make it crystal clear that I am grateful as fucking hell for these years that shaped my life. But my mom was just an incredible competitor, the best competitor I've ever known. And so I'm sure that she's taught me how to compete at life. And so this is how my mom is. She's so proud about what's happening now. And she'll send me text messages all the time. Like, I liked it when you didn't yell as much into the camera. You should go back to the camera. And
yeah, my mom does that shit too. Can't you just be funny? You're funny as shit. Why do you got to get all crazy?
Yes, and I'm like, I don't even know. Like, when I'm doing the stories, I'm like, I am yelling, you know, and I'm like, have I just become this guy that fucking yells in the cat? I don't even fucking know, but I'm having fun, and I'm seeing DMs. It seems like, you know what, it's working, and so I don't even respond to her. I don't respond.
You're getting more comfortable. Like at first, but you're definitely getting more comfortable. At first, when you came on, you were more reserved. It's not that you were uncomfortable, you're more reserved, and now you're more comfortable. And for those of us who followed you since day one, when you had 100 followers, there's an intimacy building. We're your family now, you know.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head. And now I'm having fun. I'm comfortable. I'm having fun. I'm still stretching myself in new ways. But one of my best friends was texting me, and he said, "This isn't the Brian I grew up with. You know, like it doesn't sound like you're really having fun. Like, where's that guy?" And he was right. And I was like, you know what? I gotta have some fun with this. And it was clear as day. Like, if this is gonna be sustainable and scalable, I gotta have some fun. And somewhere along the way, we figured it out because I'm having fun. I'm having a whole lot of fun with it now. And then around the dinner table, like I remember Liver Queen says, you know what? You get to teach like this philosophy to the primals. Why aren't you teaching the same philosophies to our boys? And I said, well, you know what we're going to do now at dinner time? We're going to talk about our wins, our losses, Liver King philosophy as well. So, you know what? It's a real trick to get 60 seconds or less and say something philosophical, right? Especially when you're long-winded. This becomes, you know, something to really develop. And so, you know, like we get in, we get out. But the cool thing is at the dinner table, you got an hour. And now we get to talk about all this stuff. You know, and so something that we talked about just recently is ordering off the menu, you know, and because in life, right, like we're taught to get in line, we're taught to order on the menu, right? Before you're presented with a menu, you can order anything in the world. And this is why I loved when you said pterodactyl earlier, because you can order a fucking dactyl if you want. You have billions, trillions, you have it virtually, and if you can think it, then you could order it. Then all of a sudden, someone gives you a menu, and you go from a trillion to, I don't know, 12 things, right? And so this is a special thing that I've been able to teach them at the dinner table. When you go to the dinner table, is you don't have to order from the menu. Let's order off the menu literally when we're going out to eat. It's not some neatly packaged fucking thing, right? We can order whatever the fuck we want. And then this is the way that it is in life, right? This is why we got to think, do we need to stand in line? You know, do we need to, I don't know what kind of shit I'm going to get about this. I don't stop at red lights. You know, I mean,
that's some Texas shit.
You're telling me you're going to fucking just stay here. Well, by the way, I don't know if there's these cameras. I've never gotten a ticket in the mail, but let's say no one's around.
Yeah.
And there's a red light. Are you fucking going to let that light tell you to stay put? Just think about it. You know, if there's no cars around, if there's no cops, you know, you own your life. You know, and so I think that this is an important thing. You know, again, social norms are social norms, you know, for that reason. Like we need to stretch ourselves. We need to grow. We need to be thinking, why are we wearing a shirt? Why are we trimming our beard? Why are we doing these things? You know, and if you can continually order off the menu, again, these are the dinner conversations we have. I think that you have all the inner makings of, you know, creating and shaping a really unique life, one that you get to define and call your own, not the way somebody else. My mom chose my curriculum for me. My mom was like, my dad was a veterinarian. So she's like, okay, he was a doctor. You're going to be a doctor. And my mom chose biology, chemistry, and biochemistry. And by the way, I don't remember a single fucking thing from college, nothing. And I wrote a thesis. I wrote a thesis on human nutrition. And I remember virtually nothing from what I did learn how to do from my mom is I learned how to compete. And so I eventually graduated with a full ride scholarship, academic scholarship, because I learned how to compete.
Oh, I was going to ask you, how did you afford college? Who paid for it? You got a scholarship. Wow.
Way smarter than me. I got better grades than them. I'll just give you one story. There's organic chemistry. I had a girlfriend in this class, way smarter than me. She tutored me, and I would try and cheat off of her. And,
okay, that was like a 101 ABC shit, right? That shit was hard.
It was just stuff, and I didn't even fucking learn anything from any of the basic chemistry, and I didn't take any of this stuff in high school. In fact, I couldn't even get into college. I had to go to take remedial classes at the community college, and the people I was taking classes with couldn't speak English.
Wow.
This is 100% fucking true. So finally, I get on into Texas Tech on probation. My mom's like, here are the classes you're going to fucking take. Here's what you're going to do. And long story short, in this organic chemistry, and this happened virtually in every single class, I figured out that the professor leads a Bible group. And I joined his Bible group. And at the end of the fucking period, I got an A and she got a B. And
what tenant is that? Socialize, and stay close to the tribe. What tenant is that? That is some brilliant shit.
Yeah,
I'm good at that shit too.
This is ancestral tenant 8, which is fight, which is figure it the fuck out. Make sure that you persevere, you struggle, and you win. And again, when you learn how to win time after time after time, you're not afraid to go to your biology teacher and say, I got a 49 on this. I know I'm better than this. What can I do to make it up? Oh, there's nothing you can do. Well, guess what? I'm gonna rewrite the whole fucking test, and I'm gonna present this to you the next time I see you in the most impressive possible fucking way. At the end of the day, everyone's just a person, right? And some people try and stick to the letter of the law, but we're still fucking human beings. You can always figure that shit out. My mom taught me how to compete like nobody else's business. And so, my mom is incredibly proud.
That's ordering off the menu right there too. Another great example. Get an F on a test, tell your teacher you want a chance to redo it. She says no, you present her the test again, and you with a presentation. Yeah. It's fuck. We're all just people here. That's great.
Yeah. So I hope I'm gonna send this podcast to my mom once it's on, because she deserves it. She was really tough on us, and I'm so glad she was really tough on us. But she absolutely taught us how to compete at the highest level.
You talk about rite of passage. I was trying to think of what my rite of passage was. There's a couple things, but one of the things, and this is pre-cell phone, obviously, there was some point in my life where I just fucking cut the world off. Like I just I get rid of everything I owned. I became homeless. There weren't cell phones, and I didn't talk to my parents for a year. God, I'll fucking kill my boys if they do that to me. But did you? And it was amazing. It was probably one of the best years of my life. It was fucking. I experienced freedom being a homeless man, and I wasn't addicted to drugs like my cohort. So it was just. It was amazing. Was there anything in your life for you that was like where you kind of broke that umbilical cord with your mom? Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm assuming all boys have it, because I had it, where it was just like, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm free.
I don't feel like I ever had the umbilical cord with my mom. I feel like my mom was, she was fucking hard.
You were birthed and you were free.
I'll
she pushed you out of the nest the same day you were born. I mean, I've been kicked out of my mom's house a bunch of times. My mom kicks me out, I'm gone for a year. I come back. Kicks me out, I'm gone for a couple years. I come back. Kicks me out, I'm gone. But I was always trying to come back.
Yeah. No.
You ever kicked out of your house?
No. She never kicked me out of the house, but she was so physically rough with us.
Okay.
You just don't know any better. Like, this is just what happens is, this is what the parent does. And you don't know how other parents, parent their kids. Like she would fucking beat us up, and she was way stronger than us. She was way bigger than us. And I'll never forget, as, my brother and I are getting stronger, now we can push back a little bit. And I remember seeing my brother push back, and I remember like, you knew that was wrong. You knew that was not okay. And so then it created friction between my brother and I. I don't know if you remember these movies. Do you remember Boys in the Hood?
Yeah, great flick.
I remember like Boys in the Hood and like Menace to Society. Like, these movies kind of raised me and helped to shape me. And it was like, you never touch a woman. Right. I don't care and I don't care how bad she fucked you up. Yeah. You never do that shit. And so I remember like wanting to protect her, but and also not really faulting him, because this is the way that she raised us. But I'll be goddamned if you're going to fucking do that. So I really wanted to protect her, but I will say this, the umbilical cord seems like it was never there.
Gotcha.
She was pretty fucking rough on us there was this one day, it was her birthday or Mother's Day. And I was definitely like 3 or 4 years old. And I asked a neighbor if he could help us get the house ready for her. We'd clean the house, we'd mop and do all the shit. And what ends up happening, she came home and we're like, hey, happy Mother's Day or Mom's Day or whatever, or birthday. And we use something called, have you ever heard of mopping glove?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So like has a wax
orange bottle, right?
I don't remember any of that, but all I remember is this. We spent all day fun cleaning the house for her. And then she comes home and she sees this, and apparently we didn't do a good job sweeping first, and she loses it. She is dude, I remember this like yesterday. She is screaming at the top of her lungs how we've ruined the floor, and like this is when you think that you've done such a good thing, and the juxtaposition is like, you're going to get praise to, oh my God, you fucked up so bad.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of incidences like that happen, along the way. So, again, like she did to have 2 boys, for her to do this with
Blue bottle.
This is funny. Yeah, for her to do this with 2 boys without a dad, I think she did a pretty goddamn good job.
Yeah. It's incredible. Is your dad still alive?
No, he died before I have any memories of him.
And what does your mom say about your success now? Is she like, if she's a competitor, is she like, yeah, look, my son did this great? Like, she must be, is she like so proud of you?
I feel like she is. I don't hear her say that, but I've heard her saying that before any of the success that I have now. So, I mean, I remember, like, you know, in high school, it would be like, he's the best water skier you've ever seen. He does ramps, he does flips, he's a bodybuilder. You know, look at she would take pictures and show everybody that she doesn't even fucking know. You know, and then in college, of course, anywhere we went, I mean, these are just the things I would hear. And she likes to talk a lot. So she would be saying this, of course, all the time without me. You know, he gets straight A's. He graduated with a 4.92. He has a full,
Was that true? Is that true?
Yeah, this is true. You know, and so 3.92. There's no such thing as a 4.92.
Now there is. Now there's all those extra classes and shit. I think now you can get like a 5.0. It's like crazy now.
Oh, well, here's what I know. I got 1 fucking B. I got 1 B. I got 1 B. And
I got 1 B too, but I didn't, not because I got A's.
Yeah, so she would love to brag, you know, and she was so proud. And so I don't get to hear her in those situations now, because we don't share that same kind of space. But when she comes over, she always says how proud my dad would be, the way that I'm raising my boys and the sort of impact I'm making in the world. And so to hear her say that, she doesn't do a whole lot of looking me in the eye, and she doesn't tell me, you know, like, I'm proud of you. You know, she'll tell me how proud he would be of me.
Do you tell your boys? Do you love on your boys pretty hard?
It's real interesting. I do. Yeah, hell yeah, I do. You know, and you know, like, by this might be embarrassing to him, but the guys here call me daddy.
Awesome.
You know, I'm going to fucking take that as long as I can take that. You know, we have mandatory hugs in the house.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys do that too, but it's like,
I can't keep my hands off my boys. If anytime I see my boys, I just grab them and squeeze them. I'm pulling their ears and their hair and their arms. I tug on them all day. They're dope.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. And so I would say that I know a lot of adult men who have dads that never told them that they loved them.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, this is not going to happen. Yeah, I don't think this is okay. This is not going to happen. So I'm pretty liberal with how I express my feelings with them. They also know when they fucked up.
Yeah.
And you know, just the other day, Liver Queen asked me this a few weeks ago. She's like, "Hey, when did you become a dick?" And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, "For the last couple of years, like, you just cut right to the chase." And I'm like, you know what? This happened when I ran out of time. When I ran out of time, and you run out of, you know, the niceties, you everything now is like, it's not an option anymore. You know, and this is why I think it's so important and valuable to have an incredible, compassionate team around you that can express the best version of you. And so this is what happens a lot of times with my boys too. And I'll talk to them about it. You know, I shouldn't have talked to you like that.
Yeah, I do that too. Like, if I explode on them, if they hear the lion, I call it the lion roar. If I roar, they didn't deserve it, I'll go over and lick them and be like, "Hey, you deserve better. You deserve better. I'm working on it," and I do work on it.
Yeah, that's really important. I definitely never once had that growing up where it was like, "Oh, hey, I shouldn't have done that." Fuck that. That never, ever would have happened. So yeah, I think it's important to share with them. And I do this in business all the time too. I'll make a bad decision and I'll go back to, you know, the CMO or anybody. I'll say, I made a bad decision. I get a take back, you know, or if I change my mind, I'm the fucking CEO and the owner. I have the right to change my fucking mind. You know, something happened along the way where it's like people got too proud to say shit like that.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be really comfortable saying, "Hey, I fucked up," or "I have the right to change my mind. I'm changing my mind." So to be able to teach that to your kids, I think, is an important lesson, an important value to instill at an early age. Is you have the right to change your mind. You have the right to come and say, "Hey, I shouldn't have done that thing. I did that thing," you know, and I don't apologize to them. And you know, a lot of cultures, primitive tribes, there's no word for "I'm sorry" or "I apologize." It's here's what I'm going to do better, and here's how you can help me. become better too. Yeah. So I think that's a cool thing to be able to do that with them. I definitely love on them, and it's interesting to find ways to love on them as they become adults, as they become men.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because now it's like when they're younger, it's like it's fucking great. Like you can do anything you want with them. Yeah.
Yeah, you fucking cuddle with them all night and all morning and sit on your lap when you watch the fights and all that shit. It's interesting. I wonder what you think about this. I don't want my wife undermining me, but I also know that she needs to protect my kids from me. And I don't mean from me like putting cigarettes out on them, but like I'll fucking get fucking angry. You know what I mean? And she's the nurturer and she needs to calm me down, or after I lose my shit, she needs to pull me aside and be like, hey, before you yell at your kids, did you connect with them? Like she'll have to like be like, and do you feel that man and woman role in your it's kind of like we touched on a little bit when your older son or when your middle son was doing the barbarian, like, hey, that's not the time when mom, because mom will kind of invoke this your boys are older, but even my boys at 7 and 5, I can tell when she's around, they remember breastfeeding. Like that's where all the love's at. Is there kind of that in your family? Your wife's more the nurturer and you're more like, hey,
100%. And this is what happens. She doesn't challenge me in front of them.
Right. Smart.
And we walk every single day, my wife and I, and we hold hands and we walk in the woods, and she'll tell me, here's what you said, here's what you did, and I don't agree with it. Let's talk about that now. And so then the next day at dinner, at least half the time, she's fucking right.
Right. I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So then it's me saying, hey, your mom and I talked about this thing, and I get a take back. I get to be better. Here's what I should have said. Here's what we're going to do. But I think it's incredible, because she doesn't challenge me in front of them. She wants to make sure that the man is the provider, is the protector. If we get in a dark alley together, she knows that I can protect her, that I have the strength, not just the physical strength, but all the strengths that are required, to protect her. And she wants those sort of traditional roles modeled in front of our kids. And so it's I'll tell you, it's way more effective, to do this thing. And I mean, just the other day, I was doing like a dinner story, and I was looking for the whole beast, and I couldn't find the whole beast protein bag. And I think I said to her, I was like, where's the whole beast protein bag? Don't waste my fucking time, is what I said. And I kind of yelled it, right?
Yeah.
And you know what she did? She goes to get a whole beast protein bag. She sets it exactly where it should be. And she kind of whispers in my ear, you took it to your office. And this is true. This was, and imagine how I feel, right? This is completely true. So then we talked about it afterwards, and she's like, I'm definitely a queen now. I'm a queen, because the old me, was the Valkyrie, was the warrior, was the how dare you fucking talk to me like that in front of my kids. You don't do that, and this is what she would have said, like, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years ago. And now, like, there's, there are these rules of engagement, and she'll do that because she knows what the outcome is, and she knows what we're trying to model in front of the kids, and she knows we still got work to do. Like, this story is that before we sit down and have a time of peace and plenty, this needs to get done. So everybody's got to, pitch in to make sure that we corroborate. I don't think a lot of people understand that, like, when it's time to eat, most people just go and eat. But now what we're doing is saying, we're going to record this, and this may or not be exactly what we're eating. Now we still got to move over to the dinner table, and so there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, into doing that, because it's not like we use the whole beast every day. Everything's in a different place. So I would say, in terms of traditional roles and the understanding, the mutual understanding that we have with each other, it's like we're on a synergistic another level doing that, versus the old version of us, would have been like fighting and not good stuff.
That's why it's so good staying with someone for so long, man. If you find the right person, you can work towards that greater good with them. I mean, you have to put in the reps. You have to fight with someone a lot in order to get through fighting.
That's right.
You've given us 3 hours of your time. It's probably I'm not usually a birthday guy, but what a great birthday present for me. 50 years old today, to have the Liver King on the Sevan podcast. I'm so excited. Thank you for letting me pry into your life. Thank you for the intimacy. Thank you for all the stories. I love the stories. And I would love to have you on again, even if it's 15 minutes, cameos here and there. You've been nothing but good to me over the last year through the friendship we sparked on Instagram. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
This has been great. And I appreciate the opportunity really to amplify this message, to touch new lives. And so thank you for the opportunity to do that. I will absolutely take you up on the to be continued version. I never thought in a million years we were going to talk for 3 fucking hours.
Me neither, but I'm like, fuck, I'm not letting this fucking guy go. He's going to run off into the woods with his loincloth. We're never going to see him again.
The Liver Queen walks by over here, and then my boys are like popping the head and like, is he still on the fucking so the deal is, again, like everything that we do in life, we learn from. Right. We become a better version of ourselves. And so I was telling Matt earlier, I'll never get on a podcast again without defining the time. I'm not doing it 3 hours.
My first 3-hour podcast, I thought that too. I stopped doing podcasts. A guy kept me on for 3 hours, and I told Matt I'm never doing another one. Where I'm a guest. Fuck that.
And we owe him an extra thank you because he did have something at 4 that he just kept running the train by. There.
Oh shit.
But here's the deal, it's the culture and the chemistry that we have, and this was great. I knew this the first time we talked on the phone, Sevan. When we talked on the phone, I'm like, oh, we're going to be in each other's lives. I don't know how, but we're going to be in each other's lives, and we're going to do some things together. So to be able to do this, to have this to come to fruition has been incredibly valuable to me. So I thank you back, and I'm just going to end by saying, Liver King out.
Thank you, brother.